Mayor Armstrong, we're ready.
Okay, I'm going to call to order the regular city council meeting for February 25th, 2025. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Adler. Here. Councilmember Duenat.
Present.
Vice Mayor Veros.
Here.
Mayor Armstrong.
Here.
And Councilmember Rubio is not with us this evening.
Okay, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, please be seated. All right, next item is announcements. Do we have any announcements?
There are no announcements.
Okay, then the next item, item 4 is public comment. At this time, the public is permitted to address the city council on any non-agenda item related to the business of the city council or items that are on a consent calendar, including a request to pull an item from the consent calendar and the reason why you wish to pull the item or items. Please note that the decision to remove the item from the consent calendar is strictly at the discretion of the city council. You may also speak on requests for future agenda items, or this is also the time to speak on the special presentation items under section 6 of tonight's agenda. Or you may speak on items that are not on the agenda, but are within the city council's jurisdiction. So at this time, I will open up public comment. And do we have any speaker cards?
We do. The first speaker is Sandeep.
Okay, Sandeep. I don't know if it's on. Is it on? Just double check. You'll get your full 3 minutes. Don't worry.
Thank you. All right. Check.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody, and thanks for this opportunity. And I want to speak on behalf of my community, Serena. We are in Gale Ranch, San Ramon, and we wanted to share the serious concerns regarding the new lighting that has been installed in the new and upcoming community called Pradera, a senior living community by Sheppel Construction. So this has become a serious point of contention and a point of discussion for us in the community chat in the last 2 months. And then we all try to share our concerns with the builder and the property manager, and none of them have taken any steps. For the last 2 months, this has been going in circles. So the concern is the intensity of the lights is so extreme that it's blinding and disruptive, making it challenging for our families, especially our children, to get a good night's sleep. The strong lighting fills our entire living rooms and bedrooms with an unwelcome brightness, creating a difficult sleeping environment for all of us. So it's not only disturbing our entire night's sleep, but also impacting the entire wildlife in the open reserve that's between our two communities. So this is a concern that I wanted to share on behalf of all the 50 families that have been impacted because of this issue. And I'm more than happy to share the pictures and evidence and the communication we have done with the builder and the property managers. So that's all I wanted to share.
Thank you for your comment. I did just clarify where the location is again.
So this is the older community is called Deer Creek Senior Living.
Okay, right.
And then this is a new one that is coming right in front of
Yes.
that. So it's part of the same builder and the community. It's called Pradera San Ramon.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Any more speaker cards? Go ahead, Max.
Hi, good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. I just have a minor request. So on February 19th, the City Council had a special session to interview the 9 interviewees for the Planning Commission. I was just wondering if we could have the recording of that meeting on the city website. I know that other special session meetings, and basically all meetings have their recordings online. I think it'd be great for members of the community to not only see the interviews for that session and see ultimately who was picked. Well, I know we know the results, but to see that whole process, and especially since we have 2 more Plan Commission seats that will be open this summer, I think being able to see the interviews that were conducted just earlier would be great preparation for anyone considering those seats. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Max. Other speakers?
Johannes Tillahan.
Okay, Johannes?
Mr. Mayor, council members, Steve, Martin. This is something that I have a personal request that's very personal to me. And this is a subject that we had started discussing about a month and a half ago, and probably all discussing about it. I just don't know about it, but I personally want to bring it so that it doesn't fall through the wine. And this is regarding what had happened with the LA fires. And the reason that is very personal for me is because a friend of mine, his wife, his children lost everything, his business, and I'm just shocked how much it's impacted. And trying to help them out, it really brought it home for me, and I don't ever want to go through that, what this family is going through. To me, I mean, I'm surprised to see them even here. To me, last week, having seen, going through the police department's workshop, and luckily it was the fire department that was really showing us what they were doing. It's amazing, amazing. I was very impressed and proud that San Ramon has something like this. So, Mr. Mayor, with your background in FEMA and having served that a lot, I hope you will continue to really have a good plan. And you brought it up at that time, at that meeting, about 3-4 meetings ago, that the city will have a good plan to protect its citizen. Should something like this, doesn't have to be fire, it could be anything. I'm very confident in our police department with chief and the fire department, but even from the council will be great because I've seen it firsthand. Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Joan.
thank you, Johannes. All right, Joan, anyone else?
There are no more, oh, I have one more speaker, Shirag.
Okay, Shrug?
Yeah, I want to add to the point which he mentioned that all the planning commission, those kind of interviews should be open to public. Like the recording should be available. I know there was no recording. As well as I also would like to see the candidate statement of all of those. And this will help everybody get an idea of how the planning commission process works, especially another 2 seats are up for 3 seats are there, right? Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, do we have any written comments?
There are no written comments.
Okay, while we encourage your comments, unfortunately, state law prevents the city council from discussing items that are not on the meeting agenda. City council does take them very seriously, however, and if appropriate, staff will follow up. And I'll just say with respect to the audio recordings, we did record the meeting, and I believe we do post all of the audio recordings on our website. They should be there, maybe not there immediately, but they should be there. And in terms of the LA fires and everything, that's why that's item 6 tonight, the special presentation. We're going to talk about some of those things that we're going to do, that we're doing. And let's see, Sandeep, where'd Sandeep go? And the staff, someone from the staff will get back to you on that issue with the lighting. Okay. All right. With that, we're going to close public comment. And we're going to move on to the consent calendar, item 5.
I move the motion for consent calendar item approval.
Okay, so that's item 5.1 through 5.12.
I second the motion.
Okay. Motion by Vice Mayor Veros, second by Councilmember Zwainat. I guess we got to do the whole rule. You gotta click the button there. There you go. All right. Okay, the consent items are all adopted. One of the consent items, if you weren't aware, one of those is the county's hazard mitigation plan. So It's about 600 pages long, but it's a pretty good plan. And we got about 100 pages worth of information in the San Ramon annex to it. So it's got a lot of good information in there about our hazard risks and some of the mitigation efforts that are going on. But take a look at that if you didn't get a chance before this meeting. Okay. With that, we are going to move on to item 6, special presentation, 6.1, update on San Ramon Valley Fire Protection District activities. Chief Meyer and Deputy Fire Chief Jonas Aguiar.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Armstrong, Vice Mayor Veros, members of the council, City Manager Spadowski. Thank you for having us. We would have liked to be here a couple of weeks ago, but I'm glad that we waited. And I'm really glad that you're here in the audience for this presentation. We really want to get information out to the community that we think is important. One of the things that we've done since the LA fires is to really take a look, and as information comes in, see what happened, what went well, which we know there wasn't a lot, but different community, right? We don't want to jump to the conclusion that we're going to be the same as LA is going to be. But we do see some similarities in water systems and different things that we need to keep our eyes on. And we're really excited to talk to you about what we've been doing and what we do here that I think is going to be of great, not only interest, but I think you're going to be very happy with what we've been doing here for years and years and years, and not realizing how fortunate we are to have a fire district that's not only led by, and I'll just introduce former president, current board member Jay Kerr, a board that takes it very seriously and focuses in on the mission, but also we take things to the next level. So you're going to hear about that today. I'm going to have Deputy Chief Aguiar talk about some of the things that we do on a regular basis that I think will take the edge off a little bit, but then we'll also talk about some of the things that we found and we're working on to ensure that our community is not only prepared, which we think a lot of times they are, but we're going to leverage this moment to remind them to be as prepared as they can, because we can only do so much. So we'll have a conversation a little bit. We'll get into some details, and then we'll take questions afterwards. And there are a couple other areas we might touch on that are not in the PowerPoint, because as we know, the hazard maps from the state of California have now come out. And if you live in certain areas, that can be a little bit concerning. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to Chief Aguiar to kind of take us through this PowerPoint. And feel free to interrupt, interject, and ask your questions as we go. Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm just going to back up our PowerPoint here to the beginning here, because I do think it's important. We do have new council members. We presented about the district and the operations we have and the capabilities we have. But every time we get an opportunity to speak to new council members as well as those in the public, we want to make sure that we're educating everybody on what it is that's going on and the things that we're involved with. Just a little bit about the district I think is worth highlighting. These are the communities we serve: Alamo, Blackhawk, Danville, Diablo, City of San Ramon, and then the area of Morgan Territory. It's about 155 square miles, serves about 200,000 people. We are obviously provide oversight by our fire board, and then we're managed by our fire chief, Chief Meyer here. Something that I think a lot of members don't know about that we always want to reiterate and that we always want to talk more about is our insurance services organization or office Class 1 rating. This is a very difficult thing for us to be able to, or any agency within the state or country to be able to obtain. And it allows us, when that organization comes in and they do an audit of everything that we provide, from the equipment to the training, our water supply, our emergency communications, as well as the community outreach we do. And in order to be a Class 1 organization, you have to score top notch in all those different areas. And we do that. And back in 2021, we were granted a Class 1 organization, only one of 19 within the state of California, and less than 1% nationwide have this type of rating. So it's good for your insurance ratings. It's something that you need to make sure you talk about with your insurance provider and make sure that they're aware that we are a Class 1 rated organization. The next thing is just to go over a little bit of the map on the area that we serve and some of the daily staffing that we have on duty on a regular basis. If you'll see that the blue map is Danville, Alamo, and then some of the county unincorporated areas, and the yellow map highlights a lot of that San Ramon area. We have 4 main stations in the city of San Ramon. We have Station 30 that's out at Windermere. We have Station 34 that's over here at Central Park. We have Station 38 that's at the corner of Crow Canyon Road and Bollinger Canyon Road. And then we have Station 39, which is down on Alcosta and Fir Crest. So those are the 4 main stations that we have, but we also have 5 other stations throughout the fire district, as well as in the unincorporated areas, that give us 9 full-time stations on a daily basis and 1 volunteer station that we have. We have 45 fire suppression personnel on duty on a daily basis and 2 battalion chiefs that manage them. Those are comprised of captains, engineers, firefighters, and then our single role paramedics. We have specialized teams on duty on a daily basis. Our hazardous materials team, our rescue team, we have our arson, we have peer support, we have search canines, we have a lot of specialty resources within this district, helicopter rescue teams, et cetera, that we can deploy as necessary and when needed to help serve the citizens of the district. And it's also worth bringing up, recently for the organization, we completed, as you all know, the remodel of our Station 34. You've seen what that's turned into, the new public safety complex and our partnership with the city there, as well as the new EOC and dispatch center. And then we're proud that in August, we're going to have our new training site that's going to be completed, which will be the first training site since 1950 in this county that is being built, that fire departments and fire agencies can train at. So we're excited about seeing what that's going to turn into and excited to get it done.
Deputy Chief, sorry, I have
Yes,
a quick question. What's, if you go back one slide,
Yes.
What is certified type 2 state
So
teams?
There's different types of teams. They give you a rating based off your response capability. So our hazmat currently is a type 2 rated hazmat. In order for it to become a type 1 rated hazmat, which we're working towards in the near future, it has to have certain WMD capabilities, weapons of mass destruction capabilities, et cetera, that our current one isn't fully spec'd out with. So it's an increase in training and then response capability for the type of equipment that goes on it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And just to mention, next year, we're getting our new specs for a hazmat, so that'll be looking to upgrade that to a 1. So that's going to come in, I think, the next 12 months.
Thank you.
This is some of the equipment that you'll see out on the road. These are our fire engines. We have our type 6s, which are our wildland rigs. We also have type 3s, which are wildland apparatus. We have hazardous materials unit, like Chief mentioned. We have a new one that we're being spec'd out to come in. We have an urban search and rescue unit that is being currently put into service. We actually just took delivery of a new communications support vehicle today that is part of the cities and able to be utilized, water tenders, and then specialized wildland fire engines. So we have a lot of equipment that we field on a daily basis, but that goes into why we consider ourselves all risk. We respond to pretty much any type of emergency that you could have, from somebody who just has a public service request because they need the batteries changed in their smoke detector, which we will gladly do, all the way up to vegetation, structure responses, et cetera. We do the full gamut anytime, night or day. Something that we wanted to make sure that we hit on today, and that I know is obviously a big part of this presentation and the concern that we have about Southern California, is wildfire preparedness. And there's a lot that is coming out of Southern California. We know initially there's, as is with any large incident like that, there's misinformation about what it is that happened, or not a lot of facts that are on the ground that we can actually take action on. We're pretty fortunate though, as those start to come in, like Chief mentioned, we sit and we go through and we try to figure out, okay, what are we currently doing? What are our best practices that we have in place, and where are there areas that we can improve upon? And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that we already currently do and have been in the process of doing, then also some of the conversations that we've had since, specifically relating to the water supply, which is a big concern out of Southern California, and what Dublin San Ramon Services District and East Bay MUD currently are doing and what their operations are, but also what we're doing to help them improve and enhance those operations. So the first part that I want to talk about is making sure that you understand how the district prepares for these types of incidents. One of the programs that we put into place about 18 months ago was a new program called Xyloplan. And Xyloplan is a company that was new, and we ended up partnering with them and created the beta testing, where we were working together with them to work through the computer modeling that they do. And what Xyloplan does is it takes the historical and the current information, data that we have on the ground as far as the topography of the area that we live in, the types of fuels that we have in that area, the fuel moistures, all the different factors that go into what could potentially be a large vegetation response. And then they're able to highlight what they consider to be the fire pathways. And if you look at the illustration on the board, you can see how we have a vegetation to vegetation response, but then you can see those little veins or arteries, and those are considered the fire pathways. And what Xyloplan does is it tells us what we can do in the areas that we need to focus on in order to limit those fire pathways, either by creating fuel breaks, fuel mitigation, or splats, which are basically strategically placed fuel breaks that don't allow the fire to spread from the vegetation to the homes and then from home to home. So we're able to protect as best we can and keep the fire in the grassland, which is what we want to do. I think we're all fine if the fire burns in the grass, but we don't want it to get into ladder fuels and then continue to progress into structures and then more structures, et cetera, which is what we saw down in Southern California. So we're very excited about this program. We think it's going to be a great program for us. We're looking forward to implementing some of the recommendations that it's going to be giving us over the next couple months, and then working through the county and looking to utilize Measure X funds to help us mitigate those specific areas that we feel would be high target areas for us to go after. Understanding that funds are finite, so it's not something where we can just go out and disc the whole west side or the whole east side. You know, we have to strategically target what those areas are, and Xyloplan is going to give us a good opportunity to do that. So we're looking forward to be able to put that into action. Anything you want to add on that, Chief?
Just a point, and I think it's important for folks in the community to hear this, as well as the council and our fire board knows, because we've been working with them. This is brand new, and it really is what has been identified in all of these fires, not necessarily just LA, but when they go back in time and they take a look at when Santa Rosa burned and different communities burned, that you went, how did it get on this flat land? How did we get to this, from this point to that point? And one of the things we really like about the Xyloplan modeling is it's mirroring what we're seeing in a lot of the hazard mapping, right? It's pointing out certain areas that are coming up, and you can see that those are the danger areas. And what they do is when they see an area, what we call a splat zone, they call a splat zone, I call it, fire breaks. If they can stop these certain areas from catching on fire, so we clear cut, which a fire break is clear cutting, so you don't have a pathway. What that does is that slows, I just wanted you to kind of get this in your mind, because sometimes we lose this. It slows the fire at that point, right? And allows for us to strategically know where those zones are and because we only have a limited amount of resources. So it allows us to fight fire smarter, as opposed to what you do a lot of times. Suddenly there's a fire and it gets to that one spot that creates 5 arteries. So if it gets to that spot and we don't mitigate it, now it takes off 5 different ways. And now we got 45 firefighters trying to prioritize which one is best. And that's when you're fighting from your back. And what you're seeing and what you're going to hear a lot of, and I know Chief's going to talk about this, I don't want to get ahead, is early evacuation coupled with fire mitigation that allows our firefighters to be aggressive, gives us the best chance at saving lives. And most importantly, to the gentleman's very good point, not losing everything, right? And that's what we're trying to stop. So just keep that in mind. And I know, and I don't want to speak for the board, but I know the board is aggressive on looking at these areas. And whether it be in those, for those of you that don't know, Measure X funding, you pay more in your sales tax. I don't know if anybody's noticed that, but it's about $150 million a year to the county. And there's, it was sold as a fire public safety tax, and they have a certain amount of funding that we can utilize for private companies to go out and do this mitigation. So what we're doing is we're trying to leverage all these things and focus on certain areas. And if we do that, now we give our community the best chance at surviving, give our firefighters the best chance at stopping the fire, and when we can slow it. Does that make sense? I just wanted to give you, I think this one's really important because you're going to see us be very aggressive with some of these new thought processes. All right.
Yeah, Chief, Deputy Chief, I have a quick question. Has has the advancement technology regarding solar panels, solar cells that people, not solar cells, but power cells at people's homes, electric vehicles, have they changed the way you guys approach handling fires? And I'm speaking because I have relatives who've lost their homes in Southern California who witnessed firsthand that a lot of these electric cars were popping off or uncontrollable fires, et cetera. Has that changed now? Or or is there somebody that, is there devices that people can buy and help put out the fire?
There are some blankets that I think would probably be, but you know, we don't want to recommend depending on the size of the fire and the risk associated with it. And sometimes those lithium ion batteries or the other associated batteries can off gas hazardous gases as well. So it wouldn't be our recommendation for you as a homeowner to go and try to do something like that. It does absolutely change the way in which we fight fire, the amount of water that we have to use to put out or extinguish those types of fires. We actually have, which is good timing on your question. We have a work group right now that is going through and evaluating, because there's new technology always on the market to be able to use to help with those types of things, and actually evaluating some of that new technology that they're going to make some recommendations for, which we can put into service and actually employ. But it does change the way in which we approach those types of fires for sure.
And for a homeowner, a fire extinguisher with halon or anything, that won't work to?
It won't.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Fair enough. Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, it's all bad news.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's tough. That's a tough one.
It is.
Yeah, when they get in a thermal runaway, there's copious amounts of water to cool it is really the only thing that you can utilize on them. Two things to just close with on the Xyloplan component of it. Chief mentioned the specific areas that we can target. And another thing that we're looking at doing is actually now creating enhanced fire responses to those specific areas. So now once we know that these are these high hazard areas within the fire district, now we can actually create an enhanced response to those specific areas where we get more resources on scene quicker. Something that we have done for the last couple of decades is the red flag. You guys are aware of red flag warnings. We have high temperatures, low humidities, high winds. We get a red flag warning. Something that the fire district always does on red flag warnings is we always upstaff additional apparatus for that as well. So we put 2 more fire engines on duty that day, as well as another battalion chief to help manage that in case a large incident does occur. We have resources already ready to respond to that on top of what we normally would have. Something that we started doing approximately the last 5 to 6 years was the pre-position of resources. Now we go through Cal OES. Our region manager can request to have pre-positioned resources in our county. So if we know that there's going to be a significant wind event, red flag warning, we will actually get additional resources upstaffed through the entire county. And those resources, again, will be able to respond immediately to those types of situations. So there are a lot of resources that can respond in a very quick manner. But we also, you know, before those resources get here, as Chief mentioned, we want to make sure that we have the ability to slow that fire spread, to give those resources time to get on scene and hopefully get ahead of that fire. The next component that we're doing and that we have done for a period of time, but also relates directly to that ISO rating 1, is the water system that we deal with. We're rated on the water system that we have here, but we're also rated on our interaction with that water system, i.e., are we testing it? Do we know what our water system and our fire hydrants capabilities are on an annual basis? And part of our ISO rating and part of what we've been doing within the district since I've been a part of it over 20 years is we go out and we do annual flow testing on all the hydrants within the district. Over 6,500 fire hydrants within the fire district itself, 800 from Dublin San Ramon Services and 5,700 from East Bay Mud, where we'll have personnel that will go out. They'll inspect them. They'll make sure they're operable. They'll make sure that they're accessible. They'll make sure that there's a blue dot on the ground and that they flow water when we turn them on and open them up, that all the threads are lubed, that it's in good serviceable condition, because the worst thing that you want to have happen is at 3 o'clock in the morning, an engine shows up because there's an incident and they either A, can't find a hydrant, or the hydrant isn't working. And that's something that we make sure that we don't have in this district, is by going out and making sure that we're doing those inspections. That's a large part of our ISO rating, but it's something that we've done even before that ISO component. If there's anything you want to add on that?
I just would say that that's a question that a lot of people had from LA. As we look at LA, the water system was an issue, and then also, you know, not having water coming out of the hydrants. So I want to emphasize how good we are, because I think that a lot of people think, oh, well, the firefighters check every hydrant. Most agencies don't. I would say probably 90+% of them don't check every hydrant. They assume that the water department is checking every hydrant. And just so you know, I think the water department does 8% So they do an annual 8% of the 6,500. We put our hands on every one every year. So we're really proud of that. That being said, I just want to make this point, and it's important for the public to know this as well. There are a lot of people that look at the water system and they think, okay, well, we can, what happened to the water system? Why couldn't they put out these fires? This is unbelievable. I think the thing I want to emphasize is that the water system wasn't made to put out city blocks. A lot of times people look at it and go, gosh, not enough water in that. And I want people to remember, as fires burn and homes burn to the ground, most people aren't turning their water off as they're walking out. So if you have breaks in sprinkler systems, if you have breaks in water lines behind the fire, the system is suddenly being stressed, right? And so the thought process that there's not enough, fire hydrants, not enough water, even if you have capacity, and that's another conversation. I'm not going to get into the specifics of what happened in LA. We know our capacity here. We know what East Bay Mud does. We know that they have capacity and backup during red flag days. So we're comfortable. We keep a liaison that works with East Bay Mud and our water partners. But I think it's important to note that it's just not reasonable to think that you have enough water to put out even 5 fires within a block. There's only so much water in the system. So I just bring that up because a lot of people, they conflate that to the problem there. Again, running out of water is a different conversation, and I'm waiting to hear more about that. But we know what we have here, and we have capacity here that I think we're comfortable with. I think that's important.
Are there cisterns? Cisterns around the city?
Reservoirs,
Cisterns.
yeah.
Reservoirs?
Reservoirs, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Reservoirs. And there's some, limitations as well. I mean, as we've gone through this process, and I don't want to go into too much detail because I'm going to bore you to death, but we deal with East Bay Mud. We have a liaison. We go to meetings annually, semi-annually. We know this water system very well. But as we peel back more of the conversation, we also realize that communication is only so good. We need to be more robust in our questioning. And what I mean by that is some people would ask, like, my history in the fire services. I know the water system well. There are pumps, right? And now we've got what's called public safety power shutdowns. I don't know if you guys have noticed them. That's a joke. You can laugh. I think all of us have been annoyed with them to a certain extent.
More so in Danville.
Yeah, well, yeah, yeah. So, but what ends up happening is those pumps shut down. So people go, well, what's going on with all your pumps? Well, we don't have a lot of pumps here. We don't have a lot of pumps that generate pressure when we need to up, water flow. So we have generators. Well, we don't. A lot of our partners in the water business have portable generators. So that conversation, I'm talking about lessons learned. Our conversation then becomes, okay, if we have a PSPS, we have a pumping station. If that's down, how are we going to generate more pressure in the system? That's more the issue than the water capacity, because there's only so much water capacity. So these are good conversations to have, and things that I think, we learn as we go. So I just bring that up because as good as we are, we also have things that I think we've found to be very helpful for us in conversations that are taking place.
Yeah, thank you.
The next thing to talk about is our vegetation management that we have internal at the district. And something that we've been doing for a good number of years now is our exterior hazard abatement program. We have over 6,000 parcels that fall into this very high hazard area that are part of our hazard abatement program. And annually, those specific parcels are inspected and ensured that, they meet the minimum requirements that we set out in our ordinance, that they've cleared combustibles away from the structures by 15 feet, that they have defensible space up to 100 feet, that they have the grasses down around 3 inches. And something that we've recently started doing as well is now we'll go out and we'll offer courtesy inspections. So if a community member has a question about whether or not their specific residents, or even just for guidance that they may have about how to home harden or do I meet, the criteria that you have set forth, they can reach out to our Community Risk Reduction Bureau, and they can schedule a courtesy inspection, and somebody will come out and give them guidance, give them tips, give them recommendations on what they could do to make their structure potentially more fire resilient if there is a fire in their area. So that's something that I think the community needs to know about, and they definitely need to make sure they're taking advantage of and reaching out to and getting those scheduled.
We recently heard in the news, Governor was talking about some 5-foot rule that's going to be implemented. What's the story? What's the status on that? Is that going to happen? To have basically flammable things within 5 feet of the house structure.
That's what it looks like they're going to move forward with. Absolutely. So that's
I
going to be
mean,
a
that
part of it.
applies to even residents in San Ramon, or is it just in the wildland urban interface areas, or where is this?
Yeah, it's going to be in the high hazard severity zones. So when you hear, and some of you, I don't know if you've gotten this, I know like we just got the mapping done with the state, and we'll talk again, we'll answer questions if you have it. But we found that San Ramon is limited numbers of very high and high hazard areas. But when you live in a high hazard area, we will show up and we will evaluate the home for what the current ordinance is, right? And then we'll look at zone 0 and then notice if necessary, or check the box and say, hey, this home's okay. So it's not everybody that will get this. If you're not in a high severity zone, you're not going to be bothered by us. But that being said, I think it's important for people to always have education. So I don't want to minimize if you're someplace where you're not being evaluated or by us, that you should evaluate your own circumstance. And I think Chief brought up a very good point. We do these abatement inspections, but we're always pushing the community. If they're concerned, we make ourselves available. I mean, our folks pay a lot in taxes, they expect a lot, and we're here to give them the best service we can. So we hope that the community, we'll give escape zones and different things on our website, but we also will go meet with you and talk to you about what you need. And we've done that, as you can imagine, since the LA fires pretty much a few times a week. With HOAs, Rotary clubs, different folks that want to have that information. The other thing I'll say is this will be a little bit of a different year from an exterior hazard abatement perspective because of those maps. Because as much as San Ramon's in a good space as far as not having a ton of change that has created very high or high hazard areas, our district, remember we cover almost to the border of Walnut Creek and Dublin and east and west. I want to say, I think we've doubled in our inspections based on these maps. So we're going to be stressed. We're going to be out there early and often. So that's also a change that you can see.
Okay, thanks. The next component that we want to make sure that we stress is, giving you some information about what the district's doing to make sure this doesn't happen. But we also, a large part of our job is that community outreach, community education, and make sure that those in the community know the things that they should be doing in providing these resources. All of these QR codes are active. You can scan them. It'll take you to our website. It'll also take you, when we get further in the presentation, with some of the apps that you can download to help with your situational awareness. All these QR codes you can currently do and bring up what you need to. Some of the things that the community can do, and as I mentioned previously, the Community Risk Reduction Division will go out and they'll do courtesy inspections, but you need to understand how to harden your home. You need to understand how to remove the combustible materials that are in close proximity to your home and replace those with non-combustible materials. The goal being, obviously, that if a fire gets reasonably close to your house, it's not able to climb from the grasses to the ladder fuels, the small shrubs up into the trees, and then generate enough heat and enough ability to actually catch your home on fire. And the best way to do that is to make sure you have good defensible space around your home and that you've hardened your home. You've sealed your vents. You've, removed wood fencing that could be leading up to your house and replaced it with a metal or non-combustible material. Your decking is typically one of the largest combustible materials you're going to have, and you're going to have leaves or pine needles or et cetera on your deck. And it's, that ember cast is going to land on your deck, which is wood, and those leaves, which are combustible. And that's a very common place that those fires can start. So understand the small steps that you as the resident and the citizen can do to defend your home, harden your home, creating that defensible space like I talked about, creating a wildfire action plan. This is a big one that as we talk to a lot of these community groups, that the citizens, I think, need to have more responsibility and ownership of. They need to have a plan. You all need to have a plan on what it is that you're going to do if there's a wildfire in your area that you may have to evacuate from. The time to create that plan isn't when there's the actual emergency. The time to create that plan is ahead of time. Communicate that plan to your loved ones, to your family, to your spouse, even with your neighbors. Identify those around you that may have trouble in an evacuation. Make sure they understand that if you need to offer them some kind of assistance, that you know what it is that you need to get them and what type of time frame that may take if we do have to evacuate them. Understand what types of materials you're going to bring with you, whether that's in your go bag, having your medications, having your electronics, having your sensitive documents. You have to understand all of that stuff and be prepared for it before the emergency happens. And again, these QR codes are going to help you, and resources on our website, they'll take you directly there. So that way you can access and start to really prepare yourself and prepare your family for what might happen. The last thing to talk about is just creating a FireWise community. And that really gives the opportunity for specific communities to work together, to understand the fire hazards in their specific community, create a plan for it, create a little bit of a leadership or organizational structure within that community, and reduce the overall risk to the community because everybody is working together. And again, there's great resources on our website that will help communities, as well as we will walk people and the community through those types of recognition as a FireWise community itself.
So the FireWise community, these are like, areas with like 8 to 2,500 homes or something like that. So they have to kind of self-identify themselves and then go through the steps to become a FireWise community, right? And then they potentially could get some kind of a insurance break if they're a FireWise community. Is that
You're
correct?
pretty optimistic after
Oh,
what we
okay.
just saw. And I say that tongue in cheek. I think, a couple things that our community should keep in mind, and we always try to say this, our ISO 1 rating should have dropped your insurance rates. So if you didn't tell your insurance agent that your fire department's an ISO 1 rated department, which was in the last 5 years, I think 4 or 5 years, that's very important, right? And then we're hoping that Xylo plan and home hardening and then FireWise communities are supposed to have an impact. But unfortunately, it's almost like we're staring, into the abyss right now as to what's going to happen with insurance rates. So you almost want to be doing these things because it's not going to improve it, but it might not take it to where we're seeing. And I don't know how many people have been canceled, but as the more people get canceled, you're just going to see rates increase and increase. So we're just trying to, for an analogy, stop the bleeding. So that's what FireWise does for you. If you can get enough neighbors in a certain area that agree to do certain things, and we, again, will come out and walk you through it, you can establish a FireWise community and then give your insurance agent that information. So you start taking the maps, you start taking your fire department's rating, which is the best in the country, and then you take a FireWise community and you can at least control some of that. That's what we hope.
We talked about wildland preparedness. We want to talk a little bit about disaster preparedness. There's a lot of similarities between what you're going to do as a citizen or resident in both of those situations. But a couple of the things that I just wanted to make sure that I was able to highlight. One is, for those of you who aren't aware of the community emergency response teams that we have. And it's basically a group of citizens that go through specific types of training between 3.5 hours and up to 27 hours. And we would recommend for everybody within the community that has a concern about disaster preparedness, at least go get that 3.5 hour course. Learn the basics about it, educate yourself about it, and then it may spark further questions and a desire to obtain more training. But it's a great way to get a little bit of the understanding of what is going to happen during an emergency response, a disaster response, and some of the things that you can do for it. And then you can go all the way up through the full 27-hour course, which gives you training lessons in search and rescue, disaster medical, and more just advanced techniques and topics. But again, it's a great opportunity for you to go, for you, your family, your loved ones, to get additional training about what you might do. I talked about having a plan. I hit on having a plan again. Prepare yourself. Execute that plan prior to the emergency happening, because you're not going to do it very well when an emergency or an evacuation does take place. I just want to make sure that I emphasize that. Prepare your emergency bag. Prepare for limited resources. As much as we want to say that We have 45 or potentially more than that personnel on scene or on duty on a daily basis, and we're going to have a lot of personnel, especially being in the Bay Area, that can respond in a very rapid manner. But if there's a large scale earthquake or disaster, well, they're all going to be tied up in their own jurisdictions as well. So have the resources on hand, have your 3 days of food and water, have your emergency preparations if necessary, and you can, take care of your family and your loved ones with that until the proper systems are put in place that we need to have. Take care of yourself. That's the biggest thing. And then get alerted and stay informed. And we're going to talk about some of the apps that we recommend as a fire district's perspective to help with residents and making sure that they stay informed on what's going on in the local community. So community notifications, these are the main ones. Again, these QR codes that I'm going to show you will take you specifically to the direct applications that you can download or to the websites for each of these different things. The first one we'll talk about is the community warning system. Again, we know that it's more of a larger, broad scale community alerting system. It's managed at the county. They'll send it out if there's something specific that's happening in the county, but it goes out to the broad community. We like to look at apps like Nixle, where you can actually input your own zip code and then it'll alert you to things that are notified in your own zip code. San Ramon PD can send out an alert. We have the ability to send out alerts, and you get more, I think, real-time information and updating for the different situations that are taking place. So Nixle is a great one that you need to have downloaded.
So, and as I understand it with Nixle, if you don't have to even necessarily you put in your own zip code, but you could put in a loved one's zip code also in case they're elderly or not able to respond and things like that. You put in their zip code, then you get the alert, and then you can help out in any way you can there.
That's correct. When you sign up, you can input what zip codes you want to follow and be alerted of Nixle alerts for. So
Yeah.
whether it's yours, a loved one, somebody in a different area, you'll get those all to your phone. You just get to choose which ones you want to apply for. The next one that I want to talk about is Genesis Protect. This was previously known as Zone Haven. For all of you that aren't aware of it, this is basically the ability to take all the different evacuation zones within the state, and you have one platform that can alert those evacuation zones if there's an evacuation in that area. So we, from the public safety perspective, can go in and say, we want to evacuate, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then if you live in those specific zones, you will get immediate notifications for those evacuations. And again, you'll be getting it through other matters as well from Nixle. And we'll talk about our, last but not least, one of our local favorites here, which is Pulse Point, an app that we developed here at the San Ramon Valley Fire Protection District back in 2011. And this is, I think, one of the best applications you can download for real-time information about what's happening with emergencies in your own community. You can download the app. You choose to follow the San Ramon Valley Fire Protection District, and then you can choose what type of incidents you want to follow or be alerted of, and you can listen to the radio traffic for that type of incident, which I think you can't get better real-time information of that. If there's a vegetation response, a vegetation fire in a specific area, you'll see the address where that vegetation fire is. You can look at it, you can listen to the radio traffic, and you can know firsthand based off that radio traffic, is the fire growing? Do they have it under control? Is it something I need to be worried about? For those that really want to understand and stay informed, this is going to be one of the best resources that you can utilize for that.
And it's got a map. It'll show you where the local AEDs are
Absolutely.
as well. Or if you
does.
know CPR, you can get information on that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's great. And like she said, listening to the call, don't get too excited. Sometimes you listen to it. Next thing you know, you get a little nervous. Understand sometimes there's a lot of stress when you're dealing with fires and, sometimes some heavy breathing, but at least you can hear, is it growing? Is it going to a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth alarm? And I think you can kind of get, you can kind of get an idea of what's happening. And in closing, I would just say a couple things, and I have to compliment our fire board. Your fire board has given us, over at least my 12 plus years soon, direction to make sure that we are properly prepared. And that means that I never waver when a red flag day comes up. And the question is, are we going to keep 2 or 3 engines on? And then are we going to strategically put them in those high hazard areas? So we're very strategic. I just want the community to know, and I'm not saying that, the city of LA, I'm not here to judge anybody else. You hear a lot about budgets, right? I think my board's made very clear, I'm not going to get terminated for over preparing. And that's very comfortable as a chief, and I think as our command staff, to know that we have a fire board that not only supports us, but has that expectation. When you look at our, the way that we do business, that means that red flag days, you're going to have 10% more people sometimes, and we're going to put them in the right places. So I hope that creates, some level of comfort in the community to know that we're being strategic in all these areas. And when you look at what we actually have, as far as apparatus and how we respond, we have the big Type 3s, which are the bigger wildland fire engines that carry more water, that are semi-mobile. And then we have mobile, more Type 6s that are a little bit more mobile, and we can go on anywhere pretty much in the rolling hills of San Ramon Valley. So we're very well prepared. We're doing the things up front to prepare ourselves. And I think part of what what you heard at the end is we also want our community to reach out to us so that we can help them be prepared and leverage, really a tragedy. But unfortunately, sometimes tragedies make people wake up and do it. We'll do it now, and let's learn the lessons and do the best we can moving forward. With that, we'll close. We'll take questions. There's a ton more we can go over, but you probably want to go to bed sooner than later, so
I've got a few questions, but let me
Go ahead.
start with the Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Deputy Chief, for a great presentation. Thanks for sharing the applications. So those are apps that mostly on the cell phone, right? But there is some concern about the technology. When this disaster happens, then there is a high chance that we may not have the cell services. So in that kind of situations, how we can communicate to our residents about the disaster?
Yeah, if we in a position where cell phones and, and things like that happen, then it's going to go old fashioned to what we do, which is we'll do it via cell phone. But when we do early evacuations, and when I say this, I urge people not to take solace in this. When I say early evacuations, I don't want anybody to go, oh, it's early, I got plenty of time. That's not what I'm talking at my level. We're going to evacuate early because we don't want people to be in trouble. So you got a great police chief here. He's got a great staff. Besides eating a lot of donuts, they also are really good at evacuating people. Is he still here? Okay, good. But they do a great job. We work together very well, and it would be old school going through and noticing people in those areas with our law enforcement partners. To get people to evacuate.
Okay.
Yeah, so it'll be hands-on.
Thank you. And my next question is regarding some residents reached out to me, especially with the HOA, about their sprinkler system. So they asked if they can have access when there is a fire danger situation is coming up. Is it make sense for them to have access to their sprinkler systems and turn on their sprinklers? Or
Yeah. I mean, you I'm sure read about the guy who set up the system that he pulled water out of his pool and put it on his house and was able to make a difference. Anytime we have humidity, it helps. But if you have a red flag warning day, and there's words we use in the firehouse I can't say here, but sometimes you're, squirting a squirt gun into the winds, as they say. And unfortunately, I don't think you're going to get anything of substance when you have those days of those fires. Now, keeping things green, obviously, there's a balancing act there. I don't want to get into, people want to save water and go back and forth. But I think what we're going to see as we move forward is people come up with more ingenuity as far as how they can do things to protect their homes. But I will say a little bit of a lesson, and I think it's something that folks here might be interested in. One of the lessons that was learned in the Palisades fire specifically was as they looked at those homes, and we talk about home hardening, and I just want to try to dumb it down for everybody. Home hardening means that not only are you clearing out brush, but you have not gaps in your stucco, not openings and shake roofs with poor roofs. There's a lot to home hardening other than just clearing out brush and debris, right? But what they found was more modern buildings survived. So modern construction techniques that were more recent were the ones that had the best chance of survival versus, the ones pre-1950 and, lot lines that are really close. So I think those things are going to matter more than turning on a sprinkler. I just want to throw that out.
But is it going to become a negative because the water is going to drain, right? So is that
It
going to
could be,
become
yeah,
negative for-
it could be a negative as well. It depends. Enough people do it. We always use, an analogy. It's like, you get a big gulp. If you have one straw in it, it's fine. If you throw 10 straws in it, water is going to go quicker and pressure is going to go down. So there's some balancing act there, but I don't think it would have the impact that would affect us fighting fire. I just don't think it's going to have the kind of impact that those people that want to turn on sprinklers think it's going to have necessarily.
Even if somebody is staying and turning on a sprinkler, aren't they just creating an additional life safety concern now?
Oh, yeah. especially
That's an
if they're-
evacuation zone. They should have left. And now there's people there. That creates another problem.
It does. And that's something we're always trying to stress when we have these presentations is if you get given the order to evacuate. And understanding that there's a desire to see if there's certain things that you can do at your house to potentially stop the fire, turn on the sprinklers and things like that. But as you just mentioned, it does create a significant hazard for us now that we're dealing with. Or what if you get hurt? What if you trip coming out of the backyard because smoke comes up the side of the hill and then now you're down and now we have to dedicate resources that were going to be utilized for firefighting now to a medical emergency and a rapid evacuation. It can complicate the situation very quickly if you have a lot of people that are trying to, and I understand they're trying to do good. They want to protect their own, and that is appreciated. But I think when given the order to evacuate, you should evacuate and let us come in and do what it is that we need to do.
And I know today the dominant topic is about firefighting, but then I know you do more than that. Especially one of us in past, I shared this information about one of the community resident reached out to me, said he survived because of our fire district when he got a stroke. So it's the time that the response time that he got, the doctor clearly told him that it's just because of that he survived. Could you please share what is our emergency response times typically, so residents understand what it means for them?
Sure. We have a couple of different time standards that are utilized when we respond and primarily for medical emergencies. We can start with that. Our dispatch center has 60 seconds to answer the phone, take the information that they need to take, and then dispatch the emergency resources to wherever it is that they need to go. Once our crews at the station get notified of that, we have two different time standards that we utilize. You have 1 minute and 30 seconds to what we call turnout time to get your equipment, to understand where you need to go on the map, to get out to the engine, the ambulance, whatever type of apparatus you may be on that day, and then respond to the medical emergency. So per our county contract, we have 11 minutes and 45 seconds total to respond to in a medical emergency, and we're obligated to hit that 95% of the time, which we do every month. So every call that we go on medical emergencies, 95% of the time, we're there in 11 minutes and 45 seconds or less, 95% of the time, which is a great time standard. For fire responses, we have two different time standards based off urban or suburban response. And basically, we will have our personnel on scene of those types of incidents in 13 minutes or less, or if it's a suburban response in 14 minutes or less. And that's the effective response force. That's 15 people. That's not the first piece of equipment that arrives. That's 15 total firefighters on scene to effect an appropriate fire attack for a structure fire. So it's a significant achievement that we have the resources set up where we do the stations that we have set up, that we can get that many people on scene in such a condensed time frame to actually have that positive impact on that fire. And that's what allows us, again, to get that ISO rating of a 1, that we have these resources set up in a specific way and the response times that we do associated with it.
Okay.
And we had a save yesterday in San Ramon. I'm just all excited. If you anywhere you want to be here, you're gonna have the best shot. We have amazing save rates here, and our response times are a big deal. But also your dispatch center with their EMD and their ability to emergency medically dispatch and give directions. We just have this seamless plan here that really is positive from a medical perspective. So yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah, just to highlight real quick on top of that as well, the police department and the AEDs that they have and the responses that they put forth, as well as citizen responders. It's a big part. We talked a little bit about Pulse Point and the citizen responder aspect to it, but even the folks that don't have Pulse Point, if there's a medical emergency, the community cares. They see somebody go down, they have an understanding and education to know, oh, I should check for a pulse or I should call 911. And then our dispatch center can actually walk them through what they would need to do for CPR on somebody that's down. And we have a high percentage of the calls that we go on where we get these field saves that Chief just mentioned, where citizen responders or the police department gets there first and they're able to render aid that's necessary to save somebody's life.
I was gonna do that. I was gonna give you credit. These guys want to be firefighters. It's amazing. They're always jumping the call. Like, I'm a firefighter today. Am I wrong? And a lot of times, and when they do it, it makes a world of difference.
Okay. Now, one more. You mentioned about you work closely with East Bemart. Yeah, just to make sure that the other side is Dublin, San Ramon
Yeah, we
Valley,
work
so
with-
you
yeah,
work
yeah,
with them
both.
also, right? Just to make sure.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And we have a lot of respect for Dublin San Ramon. They do a heck of a job too. I'm very impressed.
And this is my final question about, you do work on behavior wellness program, right? If you don't mind, could you please share a few? Because
I'm gonna let you
yeah.
take that one, Chief. It's a huge success, for sure.
Yeah, no, we're proud, and we've spoken here at the council meeting about our behavioral health firefighter first program that we initially started working on back in 2021, 2022, and has now been in full effect for over a year now, almost 18 months now. And what it is basically what we were able to do was that if you're experiencing a behavioral health emergency and you call 911, we've created different layers within our dispatch center triage process within our dispatch center, as well as our responders out in the field. And when you call 911, our dispatch center will answer the phone. They'll ask you a series of questions and try to understand, are you having a medical, is this a fire, medical, behavioral health emergency? And if you're having a behavioral health emergency, depending on the triage of it, and if there's no threat to yourself or there's no threat to others around you, they can actually take that call, and we have a direct link to the crisis center in Walnut Creek, and they can transfer that call utilizing a warm handoff process where our dispatch center has a direct phone line to the crisis center, and they call the crisis center and they say, I have somebody that I want to transfer to you. They transfer over all the information that they need to. They stay on the line until that call is completely transferred. And then if that call wraps up in a satisfactory manner for the person on the phone and they don't need any further services, they basically are done and that person got the help that they needed. However, if that call does escalate and they need to transfer back, they have a direct line back to our dispatch center and they'll transfer that behavioral health call back to our dispatch center. If it gets past the 988 transfer component of it, at that point in time, what we've done, which I think is really the revolutionary component of it, is we have the firefighters respond in first to these types of incidents. We were able to create a new training modules for not only our firefighters, but the police that we respond with, as well as our dispatchers, to increase everyone's knowledge about behavioral health emergencies and de-escalation of those types of emergencies. And I think Chief Carlson and a lot of other chiefs that we've talked to regarding this is they know that when police arrives on scene with a badge and a gun and a vest, et cetera, it can escalate unintentionally that scene and that situation. And by having the firefighters go in first, who are all trained in this new technique that we have, the Firefighter First program, they're able to de-escalate that situation without having to involve the police department, without having to potentially create an involuntary transfer to county psychiatric emergency services, get that patient the care that they may need through another caregiver, a licensed clinician, calling 988, or setting up an appointment with one of their current physicians, or taking them to the hospital, all without having to take them up on an involuntary hold. So we're very proud of the program. Right now, we're sitting at about 81% diversion rate, which means that 81% of the time that our firefighters respond on scene first, that patient doesn't get transported to psychiatric emergency services on an involuntary hold, which is completely opposite of what it used to be 5 years ago, where 80%, if not more, of those patients were being transported on a psychiatric hold. So I could keep going. That's another long one that I could do for quite a while, but if you have any specific follow-up questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Or Chief, if there's
I have one last question, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, real quick on that, just as a reminder for the community, there's no other fire department in the United States that does this. And it's a 911 response. You're going to hear a lot about people going, oh, it happens in this community. They have that ambulance that goes to these mental health calls. Those are singular county-wide ambulances in other jurisdictions. They're not responding to 911 crisis calls. But we saw, and I just wanted to urge the community to understand that it's never been done before. And I'm going to give a lot of credit. All the credit goes to the police officers, because they can be really hard-headed and want to control things, right? And they're the only ones. Your police department right here is the only one in the district, in our whole district, that does this. And so you're very lucky to live in San Ramon and have that level of care and being treated as a patient. I just want to make that clear, because a lot of times people don't realize, yeah, you're the only one in the United States that has a 911 response. The rest have responses like, oh, we got to go check on this homeless encampment. We got to go here. They're all delayed responses. Ours are in the first 7 minutes. I just want to make that clear. I think that's an important distinction.
That's great. The final question, how this is real final. So how community residents can reach out, like HOA or neighborhood, how they can reach out to our fire district for a town hall meeting, or if they want to schedule anything, could you please suggest?
Yeah, I mean, I would say contact Chief Aguirre. I'd kind of joke with that, but no, you reach out to us. We actually have been trying to figure out ways, from social media to outreach. We're even doing a youth ambassador program internship that we're putting together for the school district, scholarship programs. We have so much that we do that we want to get out to our community. So firedepartment.org, number one, is our website. But if you look up any chief or I, and you reach out and you say, and our email's there, our phone number's there, you leave a message or you email us, we would love to go hold a town hall. We're actually in the process of working with many community leaders to try to get that exactly accomplished, especially in San Ramon, where we feel like you're our biggest partner. Just reality. So we're trying like heck to get out there. So we would urge the public to do that. And you're going to see a lot of push at the farmers market with the Youth Ambassador Program that we're putting together this summer. We think it's good for our kids and youth to make an impact in public safety for them. And it's great for their college resume too. So we really want to, give them something that they can put on their resume, and give us something where we can do outreach to the community so they can contact us. We'd love to respond and have that taught.
Shameless plug as well. On Friday, we have the Chamber of Commerce Fourth Friday. San Ramon Valley, myself will be presented at that. So it's more of a larger dialogue. It's not so much focused on wildfire preparedness, but it talks a lot about a lot of the programs the chief had mentioned, et cetera. But that's this Friday at 8:30 at PG&E Learning Center. So that's another avenue where folks, if they want to come and have a discussion, feel free to ask questions and educate themselves. We'll be there. So.
Cool. Thank you. That's my
All right. Councilmember Adler.
Yeah, thanks both for being here with all this important information that the community really wants to know. I just want to be clear on your jurisdiction as far as the west side. Some water here. On the west side, which is to me more vulnerable because of all the county hills, the rolling hills, which get burned in the summer. So is that your jurisdiction, or is there a county overlap over there?
No, you're going to have us pretty much. And when you look at our communities, we go literally Fircrest, which is on Alcosta, right on the border of Dublin. But we go this way. We'll help Dublin out, but our customers are in San Ramon, and we go all the way to most of Alamo, and then Danville, Alamo, Morgan Territory, Diablo, Blackhawk. It's all ours. So that's where we are. And you bring up a great point. The west side, there's some changes on these maps that we were going to, we keep alluding to, and there's going to be public comment, by the way, for those maps. But California has required these new local maps that put these hazard severity zones into perspective of what they think they should be. And what we see is Blackhawk area, surprisingly, is very high. And when you get to Danville, you have some very high, and Alamo, you have some very high, and obviously Diablo, there's some high areas. San Ramon, unfortunately, is kind of, I'm going to say, it dodged it a little bit in certain areas. I was joking with the mayor earlier, and I haven't told the police chief. I'm going to keep beating you up. I apologize. But literally, these high areas in San Ramon are where your EOC and police department and fire department headquarters are. Fortunately for the fire department, our side of the building is in not the very high or the high. And I don't know how that happened. Maybe I need to call somebody and thank them, but that's a true story. They have different areas, and it's kind of, it also lends yourself to saying, well, how'd you come up with this map too, right? It's a little weird when you're cutting in the middle of a building, but that's an area that we're concerned with going up Deerwood, and that area is considered high. And then when you go into Windermere, there's some areas, surprisingly. So that tells me that they're not really looking at what's currently there. They're looking at historical topography. But there are certain areas that we put more emphasis on, to your point. And those areas, I haven't talked to the city manager yet, but when we deal with some areas that we identify, one of the things we want to do, Chief came up with this, is start to work with the city and put some of these QR codes and escape routes on not traffic signs, on street signs. So you might be in a neighborhood and not realize, and we're trying to get the information out, as somebody was saying, how do you get these town halls? And then suddenly you go by and you see fire information there, and it helps you out to go up and say, okay, well, I need to find out what's happening, and it gives you an escape route. So that's kind of how we use it. But our neighbors are really Contra Costa County Fire in Contra Costa, and Alameda County is on the other side.
So you do have jurisdiction. I live on Chaparral, and there's a fire road right at the top of the road, because it leads right to the county
That's ours, yeah.
area. And I don't know if you go up there every so often.
Every year.
Every year.
Every year we do fire trails. The board has to dole out a lot of money for those fire trails. We go up there, we make sure that they get cleared out, and everything is cleared out for our type 3s and our wildland fire engines to go up there.
I don't know if we have anything planned in the future, but I think it'd be useful for the community, especially, well, it's not just the west side, because there's Doherty Valley and everything else, but I know, having been on the HOA for a long time, there's concern because of the fires in LA. What is going to happen if there's a fire in our hills, and that it could get out of control and then get into the residential area? And so I think it'd be great to maybe have a separate community center meeting with the citizens of Santa Ramon just about the fire issue before the summer starts, when people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we have continued that. I want to say, I don't know how many HOAs we've gone to, and it was even prior to this fire, we would very engage with HOAs, because they have an interest with a bunch of community members. So they really reach out a lot, specifically over the last few years for Firewise. So we've seen some real successes there. But to your point, with the new maps, we're going to have those conversations, because there's going to be some people that are a little upset when they get their first letter saying, hey, you got to do this. And they go, well, I've never gotten this letter before. And even people in those areas, they don't like getting those letters, right? I mean, people, I don't blame them, but it's just for safety. So we'll be happy to look at that and work with the fire board to make sure that we reach out and get opportunities for people to hear our message and ask questions.
Now, if there were to be a fire, how do you observe that? Is it just the citizens will see something going on, or do you guys have some system for observation in certain high-risk areas in the summer that got to kind of keep your eye out for?
Well, yeah, I mean, I jump in as I answer this, but mainly it's obviously phone calls. That's the primary way that we do it. PG&E had put in a bunch of cameras throughout that are actually in our communication center. So we actually have eyes on a lot of the hills and the areas that are at most risk. So we can also be able to see something before it happens. But typically, people see it before we see it. They're very diligent in this community.
Thanks.
No, that's accurate. There's cameras on top of Mount Diablo that face down into the valley. Then we have cameras on like Los Trompas Ridge, et cetera, that face up towards Mount Diablo. So we have a very good 360 view of and can spot those fires ahead of time. And in our communication center, we have wall of TVs, and it's in front of our dispatchers. So they always have eyes on as to what's going on, and they can see pretty much the entirety of the district. Depending on how big the fire is or how much smoke it's putting off will kind of dictate how quick they see it.
So I'm imagining you do have, if there were to be a fire to break out, you have the resources to get there quickly, and if necessary, are there other jurisdictions that might step in and assist if it got out of control?
Yeah, absolutely. We have what we consider to be, or what we call automatic aid agreements. So we have Alameda County Fire to the south, as well as the west, that participates in the automatic aid agreement that we have. If we have a specific vegetation fire or a structure fire in pre-identified zones, they will send resources automatically with our initial dispatch. So we'll get responding resources very quickly from Alameda County and Contra Costa County Fire in relation to that. But also being part of the 9 Bay Area counties, we can send out a mutual aid request to any of those fire agencies and get resources in a matter of 10 to 15 minutes, travel time from their jurisdiction to ours. And it's something that we participate in across the state. We are part of the California Mass Mutual Aid System. We sent resources down to Southern California. We had 3 engines down there in a BC throughout a large part of that fire. So everybody helps offset when there's not enough local resources.
And Chief won't say this, but he did a great job. Those automatic aid, and what that means, and when we say automatic, that means if there's a place in South San Ramon that catches on fire, don't be surprised when you see an engine or two that are Alameda County, because they're closer than maybe Danville. So automatic means they're in that matrix and we can use them now. So it's a great uniform system that we can leverage for the benefit of our community.
Great, thank you.
Councilmembers right now.
Thank you, Mayor. Just quick question. So it's clear, and Chief and Deputy, thank you so much for your presentation. So it's quite clear that you guys do more than save cats from trees and play with water
We'll
guns.
do that too.
Okay. I had to do that for
He'll
my
make
police.
sure. He'll
I
make sure.
had to defend my police chief there for a second because you guys were attacking him. So I got your back there, Chief. So my question is, we have housing coming up, Summerhill and a few high density housing. This may be more of a scientific question, and I don't want to take the whole night discussing it, but how are you preparing for these homes? Are the developers coming to you to discuss how to? There's some smiles there for people that don't see.
Well,
But, so I'll stop my
wanna be
question.
sure. I don't let the city manager answer this question, but yeah. So one of the things we've done, and especially as you know, in what we call 34's district, which we're sitting in, right? We're looking at upwards, I think, of 6,000 units over the next 5 years. Whether that happens or not, we hope it does, but that's what we're looking at. And so one of the things that we've been tasked with, or I've tasked my staff with going back a decade, is trying to figure out growth patterns. And then how do we utilize our mapping data, our GIS data, to say, okay, what's the impact of this many housing units?
Mhm.
And what we've been able to garner, just so you know, and we're preparing financially, we're prepared for it, so we're fiscally prepared for it. But we see an increase of about 1,000 calls into this area, just into this specific area. And to give that, I guess, give you some kind of measurement, we currently run about 11,000+ calls a year. So you're looking at upwards of a possible 10% increase just in this area alone. So there's definitely, to your question, we're looking at those things. The fortunate thing, as I said, is you have modern construction. The landscaping is much better than when you go to the west side. So you're more defensible, and these homes are going to be easier to defend. But the call volume is going to go up. So we're in a position where we're talking to your city manager about plans to see what we can do to offset some of the startup costs. We don't need to. We want you guys to be able to have development and what the city council wants for the community. We want to stay out of that. That's not our business. That's your business, thank goodness. But we also have to be prepared for whether or not we need 2 more firefighters on our rescue medic or another fire engine. And that's what we've done and we put together. So we're prepared. We're forecasting from a staffing level and an ongoing level. I think from a startup level, that's the part that we're trying to figure out how to move forward. So it's going well. And, we look forward to having that conversation. And if we, as we move forward, we do a 10-year projection and we're robust in that. But the analytics are showing 1,000 calls just in this area. That's pretty phenomenal. And it's also showing other areas. You know, I got here 12 years ago, we were at 7,000 calls. Now we're almost at 12,000 calls. So just that 1,000 is here, and that doesn't count all the calls that we're naturally increasing based on the vertical movement of all of our communities.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So, thank you for the presentation. That was fantastic. It was, you know, what we were looking for, you know, after the LA fires, all the concern we got from residents and things like that. So I really appreciate you coming in. And I think we'll have some additional presentations from city will give us an update, but also water districts and things like that. So this is, you're kind of first in the barrel here.
There you go.
So thank you. I want to go back to maybe the questions you had about the west side and things like that. Maybe not specific to the west side, but maybe you could kind of compare and contrast a little bit, you know, LA versus San Ramon Valley,
That's a
the
great
the
point.
grassy hills
Yeah.
or the chaparral, you know, what was the Santa Ana winds versus Diablo winds? What the predominant prevailing winds, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'll take a stab and Chief can jump in a little bit. The one thing, and I apologize, we usually say this, it is kind of like two different states. I mean, if you really look at the topography and the weather and what's happening, right? So when you're looking at these, a lot of times people look at LA and they're like, gosh, this could happen here tomorrow. And one of the things we always have to be careful of, we always talk about this, we don't think it's going to happen here. I mean, it just, you know, from a reality, we're much greener from a, you know, vegetation perspective, relative humidity. We don't have year-round summers like Southern California does. And if you've looked over the past 20, 30 generation, those fires typically, whenever we're giving mutual aid, we're typically going down south to fight the fires. Only recently have we seen the Napa fires and the Santa Rosa and the Paradise. It's only recently, and a lot of those we, you know, have been attributed to, as you know, PG&E and electric lines and not, you know, shutting down power, which we know is the Eaton fire cause now, as we're seeing in Southern California. So I guess what I'd start with is you can't really put those and overlap those two communities together. That being said, we get great winds here in San Ramon, as you know, from the Wind Festival, right? And so there's always that possibility. We don't want to undersell what can happen, but when you're looking at rolling hills with light flashy fuels, and if we do what we're supposed to, which is hazard mitigation at a high level, right? Not just for the folks at their homes, but the surrounding areas that are coming into our communities, then we think that we're really different than they are. That being said, we have to be diligent and we have to identify those areas as we see these changes in temperature and things that are changing the fire behavior that's different than we've seen in the past in Northern California and specifically San Ramon. So it's kind of I know I'm kind of 1 foot on the dock, 1 foot on the boat, but it's just not the same fire problem. It doesn't mean that it can't happen. It doesn't mean that we get a bad day and we get the wrong, you know, arteries coming in that we won't be faced with a tremendous problem. So I just feel like it's important to mention that we're preparing for the worst, but our community is much different than those communities that get hit on a regular basis in Southern California. Anything to add on that? I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. And I hate to say that because then I don't want to give anybody false hope. The reality of it is things can happen and we've seen it happen. If you remember not too long ago, Lafayette, I want to say, was that 19? I'm getting old. I can't remember, but you had Lafayette. We had a bunch of fire running through Lafayette about 5 years ago. And that's a little bit more understandable because when you drive through 24, you're going, wow, vegetation's different. You know, they get the same kinds of winds. So it just depends on where those areas are. But when we look at our fire problem, we look at the west side of Danville, we look at some of Blackhawk, we look at Diablo because of exit routes. And I should say this, I'm going to digress. The last thing I want to say about exit routes, and I think Chief did a good job, but the other thing is early evacuation, you don't get people bogged down either, right? You don't get traffic jams where people got to get out of their car. I just wanted to say that. I forgot to say that earlier. So that's the other thing with early evacuation. But those areas keep us up at night. But I feel like most of our district is very defendable.
Yeah. Okay. And with this you mentioned the Xylo plan and these pathways. That was an interesting discussion on the pathways, but do you already have kind of roads cut into where all the currently identified pathways are that you can get up in there? Or are you going to have to kind of put some resources into, once you figure out where these potential pathways are, we need to make sure we can get in there. And if that means cutting a road, we'll do that.
Absolutely. We have great fire trails, as was mentioned earlier. We've got great fire roads. We can get anywhere in the district. But when we're talking about Xylo plan, specifically the areas we're looking at, which is east side coming down Mount Diablo, we really have, this is new. We're really focusing kind of at the granular level to focus in on those areas that are triggers for arteries and then embers pushing into our communities. That's what we're worried about. So we're going to have to get access roads to those areas, but if we mitigate them, we'll have access roads and we'll wipe out, areas of high hazard and vegetation that's going to cause those embers. So that's brand new for us. And it's exciting because in the past, I mean, I just tell you in the last, even 5-6 years ago, we weren't thinking like this. And so we would just go, hey, we're going to be aggressive and go put everything out. Well, that goes only so far, as you know, being a military guy, strategy becomes very important. So we think this is very strategic and will help our tactics. Yeah.
Sounds like a good plan. I guess the presentation, that was very helpful. Is there a way we can get access to that, or maybe somehow post it online or something like that on a
Get that
website?
to you. Absolutely. Yeah.
As long as it's not copyrighted.
No,
we're good.
we'll send it to you. Nothing's copyrighted. We'll send it to you and then we'll continue. We got a great conversation with City Manager Spadowski and as we do Xylo plan, if you want us to come back and kind of show you some of the things that we're doing, because I will say it's going to cost money. We're going to go to the county and ask for money. I know the county just loves giving out money to outside agencies. That's tongue in cheek. They hate it. They keep it to themselves for some reason. Don't get me started on that. But we're going to need help to get them to look at our community. And we're the first one looking at Xylo plan. There's nobody else in the community. We're a beta site. And so we're excited about that. But we're going to be very aggressive in this lead up to the fire season. And we think we should be. And now's the time to really generate that kind of interest in giving us the money so we can have some successes and hopefully the rest of the county follows.
Okay. And I can't remember if when you were talking about, coming up with a plan and being prepared, having a kit, those sorts of things. I think you mentioned you have more information on your website. There's the ready.gov website. I think even on our own city website under police department, I believe. I think we've got some links to the resources that people can go to and find that information. Was there on the slide, was there a URL or a QR code for that website? Okay.
And they already have a copy of the presentation.
All right, super. That's quick.
And look for us, like I said, as we get into the summer, you're going to see us at the farmer's market, giving out information. If anybody's watching or anybody comes to the council, please send them our way if they want us to go speak to their HOAs, community groups, whatever. We are ready to go and excited to share the information.
Okay. Well, thanks again for coming in. This has been on people's minds. It's been on our mind, and really appreciate the information and really appreciate the partnership that you have with the city of San Ramon, with our police department, working with them on not just mental health, but on day-to-day business. And it's a great partnership at dispatch and all that too. So thank you. And I think
Thank you.
with that,
Mayor, I did have one note to add. I do appreciate the fire district presenting. They are an exceptional partner. We are very fortunate to have that level of service in our community. And if the chief wants me to have the police chief repeat that for his ringtone, I will be happy to do that. But I did want to mention that this, as you did mention just earlier, that this is the first in a series of presentations. Some of the agencies that report out annually to us, they will be focusing on fire activities, if it's the water agencies or the police department talking about emergency preparedness in their annual report, but I think the next report out that we will have for the council would be regarding our geologic hazard abatement district. We should have that in the next couple of meetings. We do manage on the east side and also in Faria over 3,000 acres of open space. So we put a lot of work into fire break and fuel management. Plus, in the city, we maintain approximately 46,000 trees. So that's another big part of fuel management, making sure that they're healthy and that any dead trees are removed. We encourage the public, if you see a dead tree, give us a call. We'll make sure to go out and remove it. But again, this is a great kickoff to a series of presentations about fire preparedness in the city.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Phil.
All right. Say again? Well, that was during number 4. That was a special presentation. No, they had the opportunity during the regular open public comment. We're going to move on now to where were we? Item 7, deferred consent items. There are none. 8, unfinished business. We have none. New business, and it's time now for item 9.1, Arts Advisory Committee 2024 Annual Report. And we'll get an introduction by Adam Chow. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. We are happy to have the Arts Advisory Committee here this evening to be able to present the annual report from 2024. The Arts Advisory Committee has been very busy, and so we are very excited about the work that they have done over the last year and the work that they continue to do. They have a very large charge, as you will see this evening, of I think it's 9 items of what they are responsible for doing and the goals that they set forward to make sure that we continue to pursue the arts and continue to make sure that the arts are a positive focus within San Ramon. The Arts Advisory Committee has given a tremendous amount of feedback to the staff, and we've been able to use that feedback to be able to continue improving our arts programs. You know, we have the Doherty Station Community Arts Center. We've been improving our art gallery programs. We've been engaging with our artists. We have public art that has been going up and continuing to move forward. And the Arts Advisory Committee has been a key component of that and has played a key role to make sure that all of our arts programs are continuing to be successful. So this evening, we have Naina Shastri, our chair of the Arts Advisory Committee, who is going to be giving the annual report this evening.
All right. Evening, Nana.
Good evening, Mayor, and good evening, Vice Mayor, council members, members of the city and staff, and all the public gathered here. My name, as Adam mentioned, is Naina Shastri. I am the chair of the Arts Advisory Committee, and I'm here today to give our annual report. So do I just go? Yeah. Okay. So let me start with as we all know, arts is an important aspect of our lives. We need to have arts in our life, and a lot of study has indicated how the arts affect people's lives, both mentally, physically, emotionally. So it's good that our city has such a robust arts program, and we have a committee that advises the city on a lot of different things. And, we bring in creativity, inspiration, and also help in socialization and building networks and bonds among the community members. So what is the committee in charge of? So we support and promote cultural and performing arts programs in San Ramon and provide advice, counsel, recommendation, and feedback to the city of San Ramon on the provisions, selection, and delivery of public art and cultural programs, events, and services. So we are, as the name mentions, an advisory committee, bring in our observations and suggestions and work with the city staff to, implement some of these things or try to work on how to include some of these suggestions that we see, that we hear from the citizens, and also try and collaborate with other organizations and, act as liaisons for cultural arts issues to other governmental and nonprofit and private organizations, and serve as the city's review body for public art projects that, go up in our public spaces before they come into regulatory bodies for final approval. And then we also serve as a resource to the city and a wide range of visual performing arts, which is very popular here in San Ramon. Many of those shows become sold out events, and so they're very successful, and we've brought in some really very good artists and famous performers as well. So that's a wonderful thing we have here in San Ramon. One of the other, so let me go on to a little bit about the history of this committee. The seed for the committee started around in the 1980s, 1988 to be precise, and over a period of time, through many iterations, finally the Arts Advisory Committee was created, I believe, in June of 1999, of January of 2000 is when they had their first meeting. And currently, the committee members include myself, Naina Shastri as a chair, Ranjani Venkatachari is the vice chair, and then we have 7 voting members and 2 alternates. So the other members of the committee are Shelley Berry, Madhuri Karanam, Lisa Radzanowski, Srinivasa Manapragada, and Robert Bickel. And on the alternates, we have Aksa Shakil and Rob Mazer. We also have liaison members who attend our meetings regularly. And from the City Council, we have Marisol Rubio, and Will Dolrick is the Commission liaison from the Parks and Community Services. And we meet every 3rd Wednesday of the month, and at 7 p.m. Now we have our own space that we meet at, the Doherty Station Community Arts Center. So that's a nice space that, as members of the committee, we like to meet there and see all the artwork that's up there that, the city staff works with us to put through. So moving on to the accomplishments and actions of 24. So we review, these are some of the, oh, sorry. All right, I think I can do that. Yeah. All right, so moving on to the review. So we review current art programs and classes within the city and make recommendations for the staff, as I mentioned earlier. We've also involved ourselves in selecting an artist to commission an original piece of artwork for the San Ramon Art and Wind Festival. This is another very exciting time that we have when we get artists that propose their various works, and we get to discuss and go over their designs and pick an artist. And this time, for the 2025 Art and Wind Festival, the artist that we have picked is Paula Kim. And moving on. So we review art gallery exhibition proposals. This is another, these are long sessions. We get a lot of artists who send in their proposals, and we select exhibits for the various galleries around San Ramon, the Lindsay Dirks Brown Gallery, Alacosta Senior and Community Center Gallery, Doherty Station Community Arts Center Gallery, the City Hall Gallery, and the San Ramon Library Gallery. So this time, I believe we had over 100 artists and artist groups that sent in their works and applications, and then we rank them through our discussions, and approximately 45 artists and groups were selected to exhibit in these various galleries. We also review public art proposals from private development and make recommendations for acceptance to the Planning Commission. So that's another request, I think, that's part of the city of San Ramon, that the private developers also have allocate space for public art in their plans. And these public art proposals come to us for review before they go into the final phase of approval. This year, this cycle, we did not get any, but we do have, periodically, we do have proposals that come through us. The other action item that we do is a review of the cultural growth grant application, and we recommend grant amounts to staff. So this is another nice provision that the city has for performing arts groups that rent out the facilities here. We offer them a cultural growth fund that kind of gives them a buffer. If they're not able to make if they're not able to collect the amount for their event, they can at least apply for this grant for a certain amount, and if approved, that gives them a little bit of a breather to pay for the facilities. It's mainly for the facilities, but that helps them to kind of conduct the event. This time we had two groups. One was the Hansamo Cultural Showcase, which got an approval of $1,500, and the other was the Karnataka Composers Music and Dance Festival, which was seeking $1,000 request, and they were both approved. Hansamo used some of it, but the other group was able to recover their amount through the ticket sales, so they did not. So what happens is, if they don't use that amount, it goes back to the city and rolls over for next events. And the next item that we work on is to encourage the arts, and we encourage the committee members to attend arts events in the city, at least a minimum of 4 events, but we also encourage them to attend arts events anywhere else as well and bring in their observations and feedback and suggestions. Maybe they see a artist group or a performing team or a visual artist somewhere, and they want to see them exhibit here or perform here. So that's another duty that the arts committee members tend to work on, so they can bring in some good, good artists and performances and events here to the city. The other action is to update the City of San Ramon's 5-year cultural plan. It's, I think, ongoing. I will let Adam kind of take a shot at that if you have questions on that. The other is to review the arts in the public space program and make recommendations and updates if necessary. Again, we like to see a lot of art, and we have seen over a period of time in San Ramon beautiful art installations everywhere, and people have really enjoyed. Some of them have been interactive, so that's a wonderful activity for people for the community to partake in. Another action is to review and make recommendations for future permanent public art projects at the Doherty Station Community Arts Center. So we have now our own community arts center, and we feel like we need to have more, it to be representative of what it does. And we have started that process by recommending artists for the Doherty Station Arts Community Center's Stairwell Mural Project. So that's something that we have been working on. And coming to the goals and objectives for 2025, pretty much similar to what we have been working on, to again continue the review of current art programs and classes within the city and at the Doherty Station Community Arts Center, and make recommendations to the staff for improvement or additions or anything that can be some new activities that could be included. And the other objective is to select an artist to commission an original piece of artwork for the San Ramon Art and Wind Festival. This is an annual activity. Again, we review the exhibits for the various art galleries. We review the public art proposals, again, that private developers bring into the committee and to accept, and that can move on into the Planning Commission. And then we review, of course, if we get any more cultural growth grant applications, then we review the applications and make recommendations to the staff with regards to the amount that can be provided to the applicant. We still will continue to encourage our committee members to attend as many events as they can, at least 4 events, but more is always welcome, and to provide their feedback to the staff. And then we will go on to continue to work on updating the 5-year cultural plan, which will be now 2025 to 2029, and review the Arts in Public Spaces program and make recommendations on updates and things if necessary. Finally, we will also work to recommend artists to design and install a permanent public art piece to replace the Doherty Station Community Arts Center monument sign. So I think, so we want to have a sign that would indicate better the center and make sure that people know that that is an arts center. And we want to, I think, highlight that aspect. Right now, there isn't much to indicate the existence of the community arts center in that space. So we would like to showcase the center. and then to review and evaluate the current condition of artwork in the public art inventory and make recommendations related to maintenance and repair if needed, which I think is a very, very important need in order to keep all our public artwork looking bright and shiny, and make we don't have degradation, or if there's anything falling apart, then I think we need to fix it and make it look good and keep the space beautiful. We know San Ramon for their parks and the open spaces, and also now for all the various public arts installations that have gone up everywhere. So that's my quick report. And if you have any questions, if I can answer, I will try my best. And we also have Adam with us. So.
All right, you get the hard ones.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Let's start with the questions with Vice Mayor Veros. We'll go through all the council members, and then we'll have public comment after all that.
Sure.
Thank you, Naina, for a great presentation.
Thank you, Sridhar.
Great accomplishments.
Thank you, Vice
It's great to see your objectives, especially the Doughty station. That's picking up really good.
Yes, yes.
I don't remember attending that many events as many this last
Yeah,
one.
that was
Yeah.
an exciting time when it opened, and now the culture and the community event was also conducted there. Unfortunately, I was not here then, but I was on the planning team, and we got the feedback that people really enjoyed the space, and I think it was a grand success. So I'm glad that we now have a station that provides all of these services for our active community here.
So for the goal regarding the artwork that you are planning at Doughty Station, Arts, now we changed
Yeah.
the name, right? Every time I still
Yeah.
go back to that one. So do we already have some art piece that in mind, or we are going to explore that option in this next year?
We did have, I think the city had a call for artists, and we went through some of the proposals, and as of now, we have picked 2 artists who will be working on the murals, and they've come recently to the meeting, but they don't have a design yet. They wanted to listen to our feedback and get a sense of what we might like to see, and they will then come back in future meetings with their proposals and their designs. So that will help us, fine tune it for final approval.
So is it like, are you planning to send that to our community for a feedback so that?
I think they will be having discussions with some community members. And probably go through what might be the needs. I think the city staff has also put together certain requirements. And so based off of that, I think they will, come up with their designs and then, move through the process of, I'll probably go to Parks and Community Services before it gets a final, yeah. Yeah.
Because your committee, as well as our Parks Community Services Department, especially with Adam connected, you work very hard and so much work, right? So
yes,
we need to figure out how we can get more feedback from our community
yeah.
members. And I do see Instagram posts regularly, not only from our PCS, but from our some of your committee members.
Members too, yes.
Now following.
Yes, we have a very active group of people who are very enthusiastic and invested in the arts and the arts program. So we have very serious discussions about all of these things. The 2 artists that we have picked have 2 different styles, and that was the reason why we chose them like that, because we wanted to have them as 2 different, bring out 2 different facets of the art form. But we are hoping that they will pick up different themes and also come up with some interesting designs. And maybe then we'll go into the I'm not sure how how much public maybe a survey or something like that we could
maybe somewhere we can just
get some more
feedback from
involvement.
that. I do see that especially when it comes to arts, a lot of people want to give feedback.
Yes.
Every event typically happens and people start giving
Yes.
feedback. So
But
that
I
will
think they also, that's a good thing. I think the city always has a survey after every event, and it goes out to the public and the community and the committee and everything. So, we get a good, decent amount of feedback that helps the staff also determine what the requirements and needs and wants are. So,
And not to put you on the spot, but there was a Eagle project, right? But that we
Oh.
were supposed to get. Do we know is
I
it
think
happening or?
it's the Arts Foundation, right? I
That is,
don't know.
that is our project, and it is actually still on task to get completed by May.
Oh, wow.
Brad's shaking his head because that's Brad's project, so yeah.
Okay, so we'll ask Brad. We'll ask Brad.
So we're hoping to see it for the Memorial Day
I know,
event.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's been going on. I don't think when I was in the committee when it started, so.
I was in the parts
Oh, there.
at that time when that started. So, and that's pretty much my questions. Thank you.
Okay, let's go to Councilmember Adler.
So you're saying the eagle may land?
Yeah, on Memorial Day, yeah.
Thanks so much for being here, and Adam as well. I was just so pleased to be there for the culture in the community and to see that community arts center thriving. Our citizens, young and old, families were just having such a great time. There were dresses, there was art. I'd taken a tour, I don't know, with my Rotary Club maybe a year ago, and it wasn't filled up. It was just kind of, there were some classes going on, but to see it in action when people are there and they're doing every sort of art project you can think of is just, to me, it just makes me even happier to be a citizen of San Ramon when we see our community enjoying the art, and it's just got so many values, especially in our political climate. I mean, we can go and we can just take a breath and enjoy creativity. And so I'm just glad the way that's kind of transitioned, and it's even more of a useful place, and we have artists. We even have, mental health going on with the youth, and it just is so important. And I'm glad we have it. So thanks for making this presentation.
Thank you, Councilmember. And definitely the staff, Adam, his team, all of them put in so much effort, and they come up with all these very wonderful ideas. And I know I've been on the planning team for that, for the events past few years, and every time it has been a success. And this one, we weren't sure because the timing was different, the space was different, but looks like it was still a hit, and there was a lot of people who came through and really enjoyed the afternoon of performances, workshops. This time they had workshops as well. So I think it was a real amazing time that they had.
It was.
Yep.
All right, Councilmember Zwayne.
Thank you, Mayor. As a San Ramonian, is that what you call it? San Ramonian?
That'll work.
Was that fine? Okay, we'll try that. Thank you for the presentation, and I've visited the Doherty Valley Center twice.
Oh, wow.
And it was fantastic,
Yes.
both occasions. My question is related to, if you could go to point 5 on accomplishments and actions 2024, if you don't mind. Yeah, so it says review cultural growth grant, and that's capitalized. Is that a grant from the federal government? Is that a specific? Okay.
No. It's
Okay.
the city that gives the grant.
It's a city that gives the
Yes,
grant.
yes,
Okay,
yes,
got it.
yes,
Okay.
yes, yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, it's just it's a kind of like a buffer, as I said. So it's only you can only use it to pay the facilities expenses. You can't pay your costumes and other incidentals that you have when you put up a production. It's only to cover the costs of the space.
I see.
So, and if the team, if the organization or the performing group or artist makes up that amount through ticket sales or whatever, then they don't get that grant. It goes back into the city's kitty. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Do you know if we as a city, if we apply for grants from the
From
arts education-
outside,
Yeah.
I don't know. Unfortunately, I'm an artist myself, and I know I've been trying to get the California Arts Council and California Arts Grants to kind of give us. Unfortunately, I think the fact that we are considered a higher end community makes it harder to get grants from state government and things like that, bodies like that. And even artists find it very hard to get, because the moment we say we're from San Ramon,
Yeah.
then we become the rich artist. So I don't know if we have any grants outstanding that we've got from the state. It would be nice.
Yeah.
It
No.
would be nice to get some, but
No, fair enough. And
Yeah.
final question, if, I see artwork in the hallways, et cetera here, and they're for sale, do those funds go to the artists?
yes.
They do go to the
Yes,
artist, okay.
yes, yes.
And how does is this on the website where people can go, artists can go and they could put who do they contact to put their artwork?
They apply.
They apply for
Yeah,
it,
they apply. The city puts out a call for artists.
Okay.
I think they show it every month. So every month, the artist changes in the various galleries.
Mhm.
So the artists apply, and then, as I mentioned, we go through a whole review process, selecting the artists, and then the city staff reach out to those artists, and then, the process
Okay.
goes on like that. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for. Yeah,
And
sorry.
thank you, Nina, for the presentation and the update. The only question I had was back on the mural at the Art Center.
Uh-huh.
Is that an indoor mural or an
Yes.
outdoor one?
Yeah, it's an indoor mural at the two stairways that are there in the.
Okay.
Yeah, so like as you come down the stairs or go up, there's I'll let Adam give you a better sense of the geography within the
Yeah.
building, but it is an indoor mural.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you again for the presentation. Thanks for your leadership of the committee. I see some other committee members here, so
Yes.
that's great that they're able to kind of represent the community on that committee. And thank you, Adam, for your role in working with the Arts Advisory Committee as well. I too am very impressed with the Art Center, but also I just love, when you go to the different community centers, the library, you see these different galleries, there's the changing art
Mhm.
all the time. It's always so great to kind of see
Yeah.
what's the latest. And,
Exactly,
when you're
and,
walking down the halls and everything.
Mhm.
And we did have the recent public art dedication over at the library, really well-attended event. And as I understand it, we've got a map of all the public art for the city that's
Yes.
available. So that's available on our website.
Mhm. Yeah.
And you can kind of click on that. You can
Yeah.
see where all the different public art pieces are in the city of San Ramon, which is a great resource
Yeah.
also if you want to see where they're
Uh-huh.
all at.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that's a wonderful thing that came up during one of my previous runs with the committee. It was a beautiful thing that we came up, and I think we both have a printed version and an online that one we can access through our, I think, app also. We have an app as well that will
Right.
take you to all those.
and another question just kind of came to mind. You were talking about the picking the artist for the Art and Wind
Mm-hmm.
Festival. Is the picture that you showed, was that in the slide deck or is that been
No,
announced yet?
No, I think she will be
Okay.
designing it, but based on her style of work and topics, I think this time they were given we went with local artists. Am I right? We picked local artists, San Ramon-based artists, and they kind of gave a rough draft of what they might be doing, but the city staff will work with them to tweak it some if needed, and they will come up with the final version.
Okay. Look forward to seeing it every year. All right.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, thanks again, Nina.
Thank you. Thanks for
Appreciate it.
having me, and have a nice
Have a
night,
good evening.
rest of the night. Good evening.
Oh, you know what? Now we got to take public comment. So, let me open up public comment on this item. Do we have any speaker cards?
There is no public comment.
Okay, nothing written, no cards. All right, then I will close public comment. We'll move on to item 9.2. And that's the Open Space Advisory Committee 2024 Annual Report. Brad Morris, you're up to do the introductions.
Give me one moment, please, while I queue it up, if you don't mind. I got it right here. Wonderful. Excuse me. Good evening, Mayor Armstrong, City Council members. Thank you very much for having me this evening. It's a pleasure to be able to present to you the Open Space Advisory Committee 2024 Annual Report. And as I hope you will see, the Open Space Advisory Committee has been very busy this year working on their 23 goals and objectives. And here to help present this annual report this evening is the Open Space Advisory Committee Chair, Bob Peoples. So I'll turn the floor over to him.
All right, thank you, Brad. Good evening, Bob.
Good evening. Good evening. Your committee, your Open Space Advisory Committee welcomes this opportunity to present its 2024 annual report, summarizing our activities and accomplishments last year and what we hope to accomplish in 2025. Current members and liaisons for the committee are listed on this slide. I wanted to highlight that there were 2 membership changes last year. Sally Scholl, longtime advocate for open space and a committee member since 2020, didn't seek reappointment this year. And Jaideep Vijayekar, who has served for an alternate member for a year, was promoted to the full membership. The committee made a significant operational change last year by shifting its meeting time and date. Beginning in March, meetings were held on the 3rd Monday of the month at 4 o'clock in the afternoon rather than at 8:30 in the morning on the 2nd Monday. This was a very positive step because it enhanced our outreach to the community and increased public participation in our meetings. Previously, the teen council liaison was in school and couldn't attend the meetings, but now participates. The California High Hiking and Mural Clubs inquired about working with the committee. Lately, several high school students and other city residents have attended meetings. The committee bylaws instruct the committee to advise and report directly to the city council. Summarize.
Yeah, I think you flipped through it. Gotta go back a little.
This is where I want to be.
There you go.
Yeah. Summarized here are the 6 responsibilities of the committee specified in its bylaws. This evening's presentation is in fulfillment of the last responsibility as well as city policy. In 2021, the committee adopted 3 goals that align with or are inferred from its charge and ongoing activities. Those goals articulate what the committee hopes to accomplish over time. The 3 goals that have been used through 2024 are protection and preservation of open space in and contiguous to the city, management and use of open space, and encouraging outreach and education about open space. These goals provide a framework for actions and activities undertaken in fulfillment of committee responsibilities. Our annual report is organized around them. The committee recognizes, however, that the issues and circumstances it's dealing with are dynamic and changing, and new issues and opportunities can arise. And we develop further insight about our activities as we work with them. Therefore, our goals may also evolve. As you will see, for 2025, the committee has restated our 2nd and 3rd goals. I think the bottom line is that the committee seeks to proactively accomplish its goals and fulfill its responsibilities in a thoughtful, responsible, and pragmatic manner with the desires and best interests of the city and its residents in mind. During 11 meetings last year, the committee received presentations from and had discussions with staff in a growing array of organizations. I think notable on this list of the presentations that we received and the related discussions is the diversity of topics and issues considered, as well as the number of partners that were involved. I'd like to briefly outline the committee's 2024 activities and accomplishments that fulfill its responsibilities and support accomplishment of its goals. Summarized on this slide are our committee actions providing the basis for timely and relevant advice regarding protection and preservation of open space in and contiguous to San Ramon. OSAC, as we refer to it with the acronym, began exploring the nature and extent of open space and green space within the city in January of 2023. Issues associated with identifying urban open space and green space and presenting information about it to city residents were discussed and debated in 6 committee meetings over the next year and a half. The result of that effort is the one-page document displayed, infographic document displayed on this slide. Responsibility to advise you regarding resources available for preservation and maintenance of open space in and contiguous to the city, including a secure funding source is specified in committee bylaws. Since 2022, the committee has sought information about the history and uses of money in the city's open space fund. I think last year we got significant additional insight about the open space fund and its background, but questions still remain. Planning staff provided an annual update about city planning activities, initiatives, and general plan 2040 implementation as they relate to and affect open space. For the second year in a row, county planning staff briefed the committee regarding development content in this past year implementation of Contra Costa County's General Plan 2045, or as they now refer to it as Envision Contra Costa. The committee received a presentation regarding the city's funding situation and needs in January. In 2023, the committee began discussing the nexus between wildfire and open space and has had periodic discussions about it. Last year, the staff from the San Ramon Valley Fire Protection District, our local fire department, outlined wildfire threats and risks associated with open space in and in the vicinity of the city, as well as the resources and capabilities of the district to respond to them. And I was very pleased to hear a very good presentation this evening that elaborated on that. And this is rapidly becoming a much more significant issue and much more concern. It's taken on much more immediacy and urgency since the Los Angeles firestorms last month. With today's release of an updated fire hazard severity map for San Ramon and the rest of the Bay Area, I think concern about wildfire risks and impacts on the city will likely further intensify. Encouraging and facilitating access to open space has long been a focus of the committee. We also recognize that stewardship of that resource must also be addressed. For several years, the committee has enthusiastically supported development of an updated Trails Master Plan. We are very pleased that the effort is now finally getting underway. In addition to a directive in the bylaws, the committee sees partnerships with other open space entities as well as other organizations that affect open space of interest to the city as central to achieving its goals. Last year, the committee engaged with the East Bay Regional Park District and the 3 local land trusts, as well as the San Ramon Valley Fire Department and city and county planning staff and the GAD staff as part of that effort to engage with other organizations. The committee has long seen education of the community about and promotion of open space as one of its key roles. And that is in response to the requirements in its bylaws. Preparation of a report regarding progress and setbacks protecting open space was deferred this year, but hopefully we're going to, last year, but hopefully we're going to take it on this year. With staff support, the committee held a number of outreach events last year. In the spring and fall, committee members led 4 hikes on trails in and or adjacent to the city, involving about 100 participants. As in past years, those hikes were very collegial and much appreciated. The annual non-hike event in February last year featured a presentation about things learned on the trail by author and hiking enthusiast Susan Alcorn. The committee also had an information booth during the Art and Wind Festival in May, where 5 committee members interacted with a large number of people over the 2-day event. These events provide opportunities to meet and engage with many individuals and families from all segments of the community. We endeavor to share information about the benefits and value of open space to the city and its residents, how open space in and adjacent to the city has been preserved, what remains to be protected, trails that have been established, the natural history and ecology of open space, and many other topics. And lastly, the committee provides comments and suggestions about the city's web pages and recently apps related to open space and its use. I'd like now to talk about our goals and objectives for 2025. This year, the committee has another ambitious agenda planned that addresses addressing issues and opportunities regarding open space of interest to the city, which will benefit its residents and workforce. We will continue to focus on funding needs and sources to protect and steward open space in and contiguous to the city. The next 3 items here are presentations. The purpose of these 3 presentations listed is to understand the implications of the information received for open space in and contiguous to the city. We'll continue learning about city planning activities and initiatives, including general plan and zoning implementation, and how that affects open space protection, stewardship, and use. Interaction with county planning staff will continue regarding how open space contiguous to the city might be affected by implementation of the county's new general plan. And being informed about and understanding the implications of the city's updated climate action plan will enhance the committee's contributions to that effort. With the expiration of the county's urban limit line in 2026, the committee is interested in how this key open space protection tool can be extended and possibly enhanced. There is no intent to consider changes to the city's urban growth boundary, which encompasses less area than the county urban limit line. However, the desirability and feasibility of making the county's urban limit line congruent with the city urban growth boundary may be discussed. Lastly, under this goal, the status of protection for the 8,700 acres of open space identified in the committee's 2022 vision document will be reviewed. We're going to be looking at changes in the status of individual parcels and also the effectiveness of the program protection methods that were assessed in that document. This goal has been updated. We refer to it now as stewardship and use of open space. It's based on experience and new insights and hopes to clarify what the committee can achieve. Wherever possible, the committee will assist staff as they and their contractor develop the trails management plan. We look forward to a fruitful collaboration. The committee will continue to strengthen existing and establish additional partnerships with entities affecting open space of interest to the city and its residents. This, again, I think will be important to helping us achieve our goals. As much of the open space of interest to the city is beyond the city limits, we continue to depend on that growing array of partners to assist with protection, stewardship, and access. This goal has also been restated to better reflect what the committee hopes to achieve. The results of our review of the status of open space identified in the committee's 2022 vision document will allow preparation of a open space protection progress report for you, the city, and its residents. With staff support, the committee has already hosted a non-hike event this year and will lead 4 hikes in the open space of this in and around the city and participate in the city's Art and Wind Festival. This year's non-hike event on Saturday, February 1st was a very informative presentation by Plantify regarding the ecology of local open space. Planned hikes on the northern and southern sections of Doherty Ridge this spring will highlight the extent of and access to this open space in the center of the city. And again, the committee will continue to review and suggest modifications to the city web pages and apps related to open space and trails. Thank you for your attention this evening. This concludes the presentation of the committee's 2024 annual report. I would be pleased to respond to any questions from you or the public.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Bob. Appreciate that. Let's take questions from the council before we open up public comment. Vice Mayor Feroz.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Bob, for a great presentation. Appreciate your services for our open space. As everyone in San Ramon agrees on one thing, that one of the best thing about San Ramon is our open spaces, all these beautiful open spaces that we have. Also, thanks for sharing information about your collaboration work with our other stakeholders like East Bay Parks, Save Mount Diablo. Are there any projects that are coming up in collaboration with these stakeholders?
No direct projects. We share information about what their activities are, and if they have something that they're involved with in the city or contiguous to the city, we learn about that. And of course, we have one of the members of the committee is Seth Adams, works for Save Mount Diablo, so we have that very direct connection there.
Okay. So as Seth Adams, when you go hike with Seth Adams, it's a different experience, right? So it's amazing. So one of the thing in the past I asked, if possible, maybe we should have some curator. We should be recording his conversation and his as a curator, maybe, and then we can publish that on our website or maybe the application. We used to have an application, right? So Trails application in the past. So maybe we should have something like where, like, for example, if I'm taking a hike on Tasara Ridge, then while walking, if I can start his recording, then I can able to listen to his the
Kind
the
of
whole
like a-
geography as well as the history that he
Kind of like
shares.
an audio tour and a museum.
Yeah, while I'm walking on the trail, that will be amazing. It is a lot of huge wealth of knowledge that Seth got.
Brad, do you want to talk briefly about, we had All Trails, we had Outer Spatial, and where the city's now going with the app?
Yeah, that would be great. Excuse me, Bob, just real quick. Yeah, just a quick update on the app. Thank you for bringing that up. The current application, or the app that we're with is no longer really meeting our needs. So we are meeting with Smart Outdoors in regards to setting up a new app. And actually, it's exciting because we're working with them directly on the ground in regards to what the city is looking for, what they can provide, and then tailoring that to us. And so that's something that we definitely can reach out to them and see if that's a way to get in there as they build the app. Can we put some audio in there from some of the different hikes if possible, or just some audio that we may have from individuals of the community that might help with the hike?
That's awesome. We'll be the first city to do that one.
That's right.
Whose voice do we use? Morgan Freeman or
Seth Adams.
whose voice do we use?
Seth Adams.
Oh, Seth Adams. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Fountain of knowledge.
He's like amazing. And my next question is regarding the applications that we are getting a lot of development applications, right? So maybe goes to Steve. I don't know. So do we have any projection on what will be our open space fund in next few years based on the applications that we are receiving from development?
Our open space
Fund. Yeah.
the fund, yes, we do have projections for the open space fund. I don't have them with me right now. I don't know if Debbie has any more exact numbers, but we know in particular, the Faria development, they will be making a couple of contributions to that fund. And I think in the next few years, we should see it shoot up into a million or two in terms of the complete fund balance. But we're still awaiting some money and a few payments coming in. Also, the goal of the open space fund, that'll be a discussion for later. Will that be to, enhance trails or maintenance? It could be used for capital projects. If you're talking about acquiring additional open space with the open space fund, the fund itself may not be able to purchase parcels with the amounts that we're receiving, but you always look for partnership opportunities. So it'd be in-kind contributions based on the priority map that was adopted years ago that basically hasn't changed for what parcels to preserve.
Okay. So in this whole big picture, we have as you mentioned about the trails connectivity, right? That was part of our master plan for a long time. So do we have any upcoming projects on the trail connectivity program?
Yeah, I think Brad will have some updates on
that. Thank you. So we did the parks open space trails master plan, which was citywide. And actually what we've gone out to do is we've hired a consultant that's going to focus specifically on our trails and our connectivity with our trails. So it's actually great. We're working with the design workshop moving forward. We hope to be launching that here in the next month or two. And then with that master plan, that will help us with our trails connectivity. To Stephen's point, what trails need to be fixed, maintained, trailheads, so on and so forth. So we're really looking at that document to guide us in the years to come with our trails and the future of those trails and where we should connect to other trails and so on and so forth.
That will be awesome. Especially if you take a bike, pretty much you should be able to go from Doty Valley to all the way to the end of the other side of the
Exactly. And we're going to be looking for a lot of community feedback on that, like how to connect and so on and so forth, or what the community is looking for.
That will be
There has been a lot of discussion about connecting the East Bay Parks Tasahara Creek Trail to the city's Tassajara Ridge Trail up through Camp Parks. They've been working on, East Bay Parks have been working on that for several years. With the acquisition of the Finley Road Ranch and, you know, when eventually the Tassajara Parks properties are transferred to East Bay Parks, there'll be a connection there all the way up to Morgan Territory and from there on up to Mount Diablo. So you'll literally be able to get off the BART in West Dublin and ride a bike or hike all the way up to Mount Diablo off the highway.
Awesome. And I do get from some of the nonprofit organizations within the community, they want to do the events with the open space. I always tell them that you need to connect to the Open Space Advisory Committee. So is there easy way for any resident or nonprofit organization to reach out to you and work with you so that it will be some collaboration work they can have?
Yes, I think anybody can contact us if they're interested. And there are opportunities to volunteer if if you're interested in going out and hiking a trail and maybe cleaning it up or something like that. There are some opportunities associated with some of the streams here in San Ramon Creek and whatnot to get involved with some of the activities of the Friends of San Ramon Creek and so forth. So there are opportunities out there, and we can point people towards some of those opportunities. I believe the Parks Department has volunteer opportunities, and beyond that, East Bay Parks and neighboring jurisdictions, I think, have volunteer opportunities also.
So they can email any
Yeah,
specific.
they're more than welcome to reach out to city staff as well, and we can point them in the right direction on whether that's through other organizations or if it's compatible with what the OSAC committee is doing, one of their hikes, we would connect them through that. So they can do that, reach out through us, and we'd be more than happy to get them involved with it.
That will be great because Patiyatra, one of our own Patiyatra, it is our own San Ramon community nonprofit organization. They do annual walkathon. It's almost easily like they get around 1,500 to 2,000 people.
Yeah, it's a lot of people
on that event, and they all like do that event within San Ramon. So I would definitely like to see they collaborate with our open space committee.
We may
So
be
that,
able to suggest trails, or locations, depending on what they're interested in doing. There are some options available, depending on what kind of a hike or what kind of a walk you want to have.
Sounds good. So I'll connect through Brad to your open space committee. Cool. Thanks once again for all the great work. Appreciate it.
Okay, Councilmember Adler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Bob and Brad, for being here. I just am curious to know a little bit more about the Open Space Fund. How is that sourced? Is that public-private, or is it?
It's the development fee. It's a fee that developers pay, because of their development and the impacts on open space.
Okay.
It goes back, I think, to at least 2016 and where they had that development fee. The planning staff can provide more details on that, but it's I think there's been, close to $3.5 million deposited into it over the years, the information that we've been provided. And it's has been used for a number of different projects, but
so this isn't something that a private philanthropist decides he wants to, do a good thing for the community, and it's more of the developers exclusively.
It's something that's required of developers. It's one of those charges that are added to the development fee.
Okay.
If there was somebody that was interested in contributing money, if they're interested, for instance, in preserving some open space, there are organizations, the land trusts, East Bay Parks and so forth, that would be able to receive that and make use of that money for that purpose. And those organizations also, would be able to spend money or organize development of trails and so forth with that kind of money also. depending on what the individual wanted it to be put to.
Yeah, good. Thank you very much.
All right, council members, right now.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Gentlemen, great presentation. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Bob. I just have two questions. I think, Brad, you touched on the mobile app. So we don't have a mobile app. It's being redeveloped. Okay.
Was not very effective, and so actually we did away with it kind of with the budget cuts, is also it wasn't getting much traction. But the company that we're working with in regards to our trail signage, they are also developing the app as part of that agreement. And so it made perfect sense to kind of switch from what we were using. There's also a lot of third-party apps out there that the community can use, you know, All Trails, so on and so forth, that we're not, but they're still available for the community. But the one that we're working on now, we're partnering with, will be specific to San Ramon, and we're hoping it's going to tie into all the trail signage that we're working with the same company and have the connection between the two.
Fair enough. And then my final question is, a lot of great accomplishments. Were there any challenges that you guys ran into in 2024? I'm new on here on the dais, so I'm just curious, was there any challenges you guys ran into or you guys faced?
Well, it's a continuing challenge to accomplish some of this work. We've, as I mentioned, we have postponed development of the progress report about that, and we need to really focus on that this year, I think. There's been other things that have required the attention of the committee, and we couldn't get to it. We spent an awful lot of time talking about urban open space and green space and didn't really, I think, resolve that. There's still some issues there. I think it's an important issue to a lot of people in the city, but there's a lot of issues, but we may revisit that in the future. We'll see what the committee wants to do on that.
Okay. Thank you.
Just in general, I think we'd like to see more areas that in our vision document, the 8,700 acres that we identified, about a third of that has pretty good protection, and another third has some level of protection beyond the planning requirements. And then there's a third of that area that has no protection, and we'd like to see some of that become acquired or get higher levels of protection on that. Doesn't have to actually be acquired, but conservation easements and so forth. I think the other big thing is the lack of trail connectivity. I think up on the West Side Hills here, trying to get trail connectivity through Norris Canyon Estates continues to be an issue, and we're aware of it, and as is East Bay Parks, and they're working on it, and it's just one of those things that takes a long time to work through all the obtaining the rights of way and whatnot.
Yeah, that was actually my final question was that point. I live on Norris Canyon Road, so thank you. Mayor.
All right, and thanks, Bob. I guess, well, maybe I do have a question. I always enjoy the hikes. Been on several of the hikes and enjoy the non-hiking event too. I made the Susan Alcorn event last year, but didn't make this year's just due to some travel I was on. But I do recall on one of the hikes that we had, I think this might have been a year, maybe over a year ago, and it might have been the Tazahara Ridge Trail hike, but there was sort of a conflict there was like a meetup group or something that advertised something about the hike, and so you had extra people that showed up that weren't registered, that you weren't aware of, created a parking issue and things like that. Just a lot of people on the trail that day. Are we still seeing kind of separate meetup groups kind of showing up at your hikes as well?
I'm not sure how many of them are showing up at our hikes. The meetup is San Ramon Hiking and Now Social Meetup, as they're calling themselves, is got close to 5,000 members now. So when they have a hike, they get quite a few people on it. And there are other groups that hike, the Tasahara Ridge, I think on a Saturday. There's always a lot of people hiking there, and the parking is an issue because of that. And these are just individual families or individual groups of people that are going up there. They're not the meetup group. On the other hand, in terms of advertising our hikes and reaching out to people, there may be some opportunities to work with them, if we manage it properly, so that we don't get overwhelmed. Almost every hike, I think virtually every hike that I have been participated in, there are people that show up that haven't registered, and it's just a matter of course that you have to go ahead and register them, get them to sign the liability waiver, and they come out there and they enjoy it. And sometimes they come back and they will then register in the future. But I think almost all the time you have fewer, you have people that show up that haven't registered ahead of time.
Yeah. Okay.
And it has not been, I don't think it's been an overwhelming problem except for maybe that one time.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's it for questions. Let me open up public comment. Do we have any speaker cards?
There is no public comment.
All right, nothing written either. I'll close public comment. Any final comments from council?
No, sir. Thank you. Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, I'll just say thank you, Bob. I was the city council liaison for the last couple of years for the Open Space Committee, so I got to see your work firsthand and all the great things that the committee's doing. So please thank the committee members on behalf of the council for the good work that you all are doing, and keep it up. And thank you, Brad, for for your role in as a staff representative for that committee. So thank you very much, Bob.
Thank you.
All right. All right, on to item 10, city manager and city council member comments.
Right. Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. I do have a few updates this evening. The first is the State of the City with Mayor Mark Armstrong. Takes place next Wednesday, March 5th at 11:30 a.m. at the San Ramon Community Center. The deadline to book tickets for lunch has passed, but there is an opportunity for members of the public to attend and listen to the presentation without purchasing a lunch ticket. So again, that's next Wednesday, March 5th at 11:30 a.m. Registration is open for residents for the spring rec and summer camps. You can register online at sanramonrecguide.com or in person at the San Ramon Community Center or the Senior Center. Registration opens to non-residents on Monday, March 10th. And finally, the beloved Art and Wind Festival will take place Saturday, May 25th and Sunday, May 26th. The city is currently accepting applications for vendors, entertainers, and sponsors. To apply, visit artandwind.com. And with that, that concludes my update for this evening.
All right, let me, I'll start off with over here on my right, Councilmember Zwena. Any comments?
I wanted to thank all the presenters today and Open Space Advisory and the Arts Committee and our fire district who came in, did a great presentation. So thank you to all who participated today.
Okay, all right, Councilmember Adler.
Talking about our committees?
Yeah, it's committee, LNO, any meetings you've been to or community events, thanks.
I forgot to mention about the community center, the Doherty Station, that Kathy Hyman gave me a tour as well of that center, which was really enjoyable, and I was impressed by that. As far as what I've done this week, we had the Cal Cities webinar, and just as a point of information for the public, these seminars are really having to do with public disclosure, fair political practices, which mission is to promote public integrity. So we learned a little bit about what to do as public officials when regarding behested payments. And that's, just without getting into a lot of legalese, you have to report that if there's a solicitation or made in cooperation of, or consultation in concert with a public official and a legislative, governmental, and charitable purpose. So then we have to do what we call a Form 803 payment. So that was on the 12th of February, and on February 13th, I attended the Contra Costa Mayor's Conference in Moraga, and it was literally a dark and stormy night. But it was interesting, and the mayor and council member Swinert and I, and also Marisol were there. And this was hosted by the town of Moraga. It was a meeting and a dinner. And really, John King was a recently retired urban design columnist for the Chronicle, and he kind of gave us a little bit of a rundown on some of the changes that have been made over the years in San Francisco. The purpose really of the meeting, though, was an appointment of the Contra Costa local agency formation commission, LAFCO, and there was a vote for a position that was open, and both Robert and Marisol and Vice Mayor of Laura Nakamura went up for that opening, and the Vice Mayor was put in that position. And there were a number of other committees that aren't that important to go into now where they appointed people. And then, on the last Saturday, I guess maybe it wasn't last Saturday, Saturday before last, on February 15th, we had a council retreat at our city center. I thought at the Terrace Room, it was productive. I thought it was well run. We had Shane, what's his name? I forgot. Sean Spano kind of facilitated that. So we came up with our goals and talked about, what we thought were important. We had the staff, the whole city staff. It was good to see everybody in the same room and chiming in when necessary. And I know we're going to continue that endeavor. After that, I went to a Dublin San Ramon Women's Club crab feed that night. It was nice and that was at the St. Raymond's Church and in the Morgan Hall in Dublin, and they introduced me as a new council member, and it was just nice to be part of that event. On February 18th, Tuesday, I attended the teen council meeting. It was the first time, and the council is a 17-member committee appointed by the city council to advise and inform about teen issues. And Jennifer Galt is the advisor. I was really impressed sitting there because I kind of had a flashback because in high school I was really involved in student government, and here I am listening to these bright kids talk about what they've been up to, and they really impressed me. They're working on new teen environmental stewardship and service learning programming, and also approval of an outstanding teen citizenship award timeline. So that was good to sit there with them. And I did go to the Central Sanitation County or Contra Costa County Sanitary District meeting on February 20th, and it was good to meet, everybody in person and talk to them about what they're up to. And so anyway, that's what I've been up to. I think I'm taking up all the time here.
No sweat. All right, Vice Mayor Peros.
So on February 15th, as Council Member Adler mentioned, we attended Council Goals Retreat. We touched base some key items on maintenance of our public safety, land use policies, and also around retail tax generation and building a strong financial base. Along with that, building a quality infrastructure, and also how to provide quality services to the residents, and also around, if I remember right, around how to enhance the engagement with our community residents. So those are some of the top goals that we reviewed together as a council, and thanks to staff and all the head of the staff departments being there and helping us in navigating through this process. We appreciate that. And then on February 20th, attended MCE new board member orientation, as I'm new to this MCE. So along with the council member Junet, he's our alternate for the board. It was a very good orientation program, very well organized and very informative. I'm definitely pretty excited to be part of that excellent, wonderful organization. And then after that, at 6 o'clock, we had the first board meeting for MCE, my first board meeting of MCE. And some of the important topics that they touch based during that meeting. Let me make sure I have them. Oops, let me get this first. So we did have board introductions, and then there was a selection of chair and vice chair. Contra Costa County Supervisor Chanel, she got elected as the supervisor, and then Gabe from El Cerrito council member, he got elected as a vice chair. They got re-elected basically. So that's what happened. Then there was MC 2025 priorities discussion. They shared about their objectives, mission goals, and some of their accomplishments about the key. Some of them are 500,000 metric tons of green gas that they could able to save into the environment, not to release into the environment, and then also around 6,500 green jobs that generated around within these their programs. And then another important one that they mentioned is about the new program, VPP Flex. That's not coming to San Ramon as of now, but hopefully in future we may get it. And another important thing, item is they did introduction of their budget preview. As such, they are not planning to increase the service charges for the residential, but then they are looking at increasing for commercial around 4.5%. But then I raised the concern about that, because when you are raising commercial, which is like grocery stores or gas stations, those are the ones which are going to be impacted. And obviously that are going to be rolled out to the community residents pretty much, right? So I raised my concern, and also some of other board members also understood the concern, and they also mentioned about the challenges. One of the items that they were looking at is when MCE is planning to add 40 more staff members. That's where it's a little bit contentious, but it's still a budget preview. So they would like to take the feedback from us, and we'll see how it will turns out. So that's on MCE side. And then yesterday I attended our San Ramon Historic Foundation. It's a Historic Foundation doing pretty good. Brad always take care of Brad and anyway, so our staff basically take care of them pretty good. And I think March 24th there is a Boone House conversation is scheduled, so they are excited and looking forward for that. And I provided our council updates. I got some questions about it, but otherwise it was pretty simple meeting we had. So that's my updates. Thank you.
Okay. Before I go, I want to come back to you. Anything else? Yeah.
No, just echoing what Councilmember Adler and Burrows had mentioned. But I too also attended the traffics meeting, inaugural traffics meeting, discussing the upcoming contract with the for the buses for 2025, and that was already done, but it was very well organized. I was very impressed about traffics. I assumed that traffics was just about street safety, but it was actually about more about how we bus our kids in and around the school district here in San Ramon. So attended that, and that was in addition to the MCE meeting, and that was it.
Okay, all right, thank you. Last week I attended three kind of innovation themed events. One was the Innovate 680 meeting. We got an update on kind of on the future of several initiatives, the part-time transit lanes, that's kind of the bus on shoulder project, shared mobility hubs, automated driving systems, and ramp metering future initiatives here. The next event was on the 12th, and that was the school district had their Celebrate Innovation and Education event. Several senior members of our staff also were present for that event. The superintendent, CJ Hammock, gave a state of the district type presentation, focused on the severe budget shortfall that the school district is having. You know, we thought we had a problem. Well, we did have a problem. The school district is really experiencing some funding challenges this year. It's probably going to lead to, well, it's going to lead to some teacher and some staff cuts. And this is all kind of part of that local control funding formula that is used to determine kind of the state funding, or, you know, how the districts are funded. And unfortunately, our school district here, San Ramon Valley Unified School District, is one of the lowest funded, not just in the Bay Area, but in the state. And so they get some funding from the state, and the rest is either property taxes, or you've got the San Ramon Valley Education Fund, and there's a major gift and endowment organization that helps out with some of the funding as well. But it's really a challenge for the school district this year. The third innovation event was Innovation Tri-Valley Mayor's Panel. I attended on the 14th. I had the opportunity to talk about some of the things going on in San Ramon, kind of just articulate our vision of focusing future growth and development in the city core area. Talked about some of the other developments, some of the housing, like upcoming, Belmont Village that's now open for seniors, as well as some of the other affordable housing projects. Talked about the Iron Horse Trail overcrossing bridge and some of our funding challenges and the passage of Measure N. We got into a little bit on quality of life and just the number of parks we've got, but also the cost of maintaining those parks. And then we covered a little bit on economic development, or all the the challenges with attracting and maintaining, keeping businesses. And then last Friday, I attended PAC 841. That's a Cub Scout PAC. The Air of Light and bridging ceremony. That was over at Walt Disney Elementary School, and the Weeblo Scouts that were bridging would bridge over to this time 3 other Scout troops, troops 36G, 126, and 834. But that's always a nice event. And then yesterday, I had the opportunity here in the council chambers to welcome the latest class of Government 101. I think that was general government day, right? Yeah. And so it's great to see a new class coming. In fact, 2 of the class members are here tonight. Thank you. And then just coming up, tomorrow we've got the Belmont Village ribbon cutting. We also have the Tri-Valley Cities Coalition event over at the Bridges Golf Club. Then Thursday, Cal City's East Bay Division meeting in San Leandro. And Friday, I'll be doing another Air of Light and bridging ceremony. This is it's as part of a blue and gold banquet that PAC 1776 is going to do, and that'll be over at Coyote Creek Elementary School. So a few things still to go this week. So I'm sure I'll see some of you there at some of these events. So, and with that, that's all I've got. Last chance for any other council member comments? Good. Okay. And the next item, I believe, is our